And we're back. It's another episode of the Untitled Nostalgia Show here on Saturday at Bounding into Comics. I'm here with Society Refuse, Jacob.
What time is it? Is the big nap with it? The corn popping and
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
I'm doing great. I'll
Channeling
kick
his inner
Trump's
Joe
ass.
Biden today.
How's it
Channeling
going,
his
guys?
inner Joe Biden. A lot of things are going on right now. Apparently, Halo 2 is about to launch. That's pretty good. Back here in 2004. That's right. Not this 2025 nonsense. Never heard of it. What else happened in 2024 was G4 TV came online after striking a deal with Tech TV to create
You
the
mean
world's first
2004?
2004. Yeah.
No, you said 2024.
Oh, I apologize.
That's too
I'm
entirely
used to
different.
this. My apologies. Yeah, it's about 20 years difference. in fact.
Yes, I am currently used to last year.
Channeling my inner Biden.
Right.
But G4 TV came into being as the world's first video game focused television station on satellite TV in the hopes of potentially channeling the MTV style video game youth of the early 2000s. However, decisions were made along the way that crippled this attraction and shifted G4's appeal to people who barely had any idea what a video game was and preferred reruns of Cops.
Hey, don't forget Cheaters. Cheaters was also a
Cheaters
big
too,
thing.
right? Cheaters and Cops. That's
Yeah.
right. If you run afoul of your lover or the law, you can find
It
your
was-
face on G4.
It was either reruns of a 1991 episode of Cops from Las Vegas where they were still wearing those Coke bottle shades that those cops used to wear back in the days, or just replaying that same episode of Cheaters where that guy got stabbed on the boat.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. They put that on TV.
Yep. And they just kept replaying it because it's this is the height of our show. We'll never top this.
Yeah, the news is like, we're not going to show you Uday and Kusei, and G4 is like, you want to see a guy get stabbed because he cheated on his girlfriend?
I mean, in all honesty, that's the worst case scenario when something like that happens 2 seasons into your run because you realize, okay, we just peaked. There's just no upward.
That's it, guys. I mean, do we do Cheaters of China now? Because that's the only place we've got. Cheaters of Brazil. That's the only place we've got.
Oh man, there's some debauchery on those Brazilian shows, but we'll talk about that another time. So here's a couple of things here, because obviously in the more modern sense, everyone knows about the revival of G4 that happened a couple of years ago, and that was the whole thing with Frost and Adam Sessler, and for some reason that weird Just the Minx chick who apparently had a severe alcohol problem that they found out about not too long ago. They put all those people together on the G4 revival, and shockingly, it died within a year. It had absolutely no chance. Right. What was shocking to me is that, and this is what I've mentioned before here, that they put a lot of money into the reboot of G4, but they never asked the question, which should have been the $1 million question for everyone. Why would we reboot a show or a network that was canceled 13 years ago due to poor viewership? So you kind of have to ask, okay, look, well, obviously about 15 years ago, people gave up watching this stuff. So how are we going to win those people back? How are we going to, that will require you to address a problem before moving forward with a solution, right? That's kind of how normal societies work. And they didn't decide to do that at all. They just hired this individual here, and Adam Sessler, who is literally the only person on G4 that nobody likes up to this point. This brought both of them back and be like, yeah, they're going to be the face of our new venture moving forward. And then, surprise to no one, it died immediately. So everyone remembers Frost's rant. Apparently, people were complaining that she was nowhere near as hot as Morgan Webb, who was on the show at the time, which, objectively, it's just saying. But besides that...
at a distance, I wouldn't be able to tell that Frost is a woman. So.
Yeah, that's she's not a pinup gal. That's the safest thing that I can say on YouTube versus what I really want to say. Let's just call it that way. She's not a 1940s pinup model by any stretch of the imagination. But outside of all that, there was still a greater problem here with G4, is that by the time you got to 2010, no one wanted to watch G4, not even for a second. And the problems leading up to that goes back even further than this. So back what Cider was saying here at the very beginning, there was a transition period in the early 2000s where they kind of branched out cable to be more digital, be more satellite based, which gave them the opportunity to host a lot more channels than you could before. Now, if you guys don't remember this time period, back in like, the 90s and then the 80s, you probably only had access to about, for being fair, maybe about 50 or 60 channels total, and then like that was it. And even back then it was kind of like a novelty, because there was a time period in this country where you probably only had like 4, and then you moved up to 50. He was like, oh wow, we had 50. Then in the digital age, all of a sudden we have 1,000 channels. So there's literally a multitude of stuff that you can watch. You can watch 100 different types of music channels, and you can watch MTV1 and MTV2 and MTV Hits and MTV Jams and MTV Yo Mama Raps something. There's so many MTV channels you don't know what to watch, right? And this was a novelty for a while. Well, obviously, at the same time period, people were like, okay, well, if we have all these channels, we have to create content for these channels to justify the existence of these channels, right? so we got here. You had this little network at the time called Tech TV. Tech TV was a very successful for its time digital channel that had a lot of good things that came from it. It was basically technology based. It was in those early days where people really didn't understand the internet to the degree that they did now. So there was a lot of shows about, hey, how do I fix my computer, or how do I upgrade my RAM system, or hey, what podcasting?
Jacob,
what is that?
What Jacob is talking about is like, they were quite literally shows where you would call in. There would be a 1-800 number, and you would say, hello, tech team on Tech TV. My printer is not printing. What do I do? And they will, on the phone, on TV, walk you through putting a new ink cartridge in your printer because you didn't know you had to do that. So
this is before the days where Microsoft forced you to talk to Indian people on the phone for several hours trying to figure out how to unplug and replug your printer. So it
to
is
be
a simpler
completely
time.
honest, this is still not a bad idea to do for your YouTube channel, okay? So if you are looking for fun content, you make a number known, then people will call you with real or otherwise tech problems.
But at the same time, they had a few shows that people actually really enjoyed. They had Robot Wars, they had Anime Unleashed, there was a show called Screensavers, X-Play, obviously. A lot of people don't even remember X-Play did not originate from G4, it originated from Tech TV and got crossed over. Now, we'll show you guys some clips of these shows as the show progresses here, but this is how it all started. G4 in this very early iteration in 2002 was a very similar concept where it was like, okay, but we're going to basically focus completely and utterly on video games. We are a channel for gamers, and that lasted all of about 2, maybe 3 years, and they becoming a gamer channel, and then it was all over from there. But essentially, they had a couple of solid shows at the time. They had obviously G4TV.com, which is an interactive show we'll talk about later on here. You also had Arena, which was another show. It was very early concept, but Comcast had a lot of money backed into it. I mean, it's Comcast for let's be honest here. They had the money, but they didn't have the outreach. So you know what they decided to do? They was like, hey, look, there's this network called Tech TV. Their audiences, I guess you could say, have a lot of synergy with our audience. Let's purchase them, take a lot of their households, and create one super network called G4 Tech TV. This was a merger that lasted all of 8 months. And just 8 months. So here's essentially what happened. Comcast buys Tech TV. This is an article from 2004, by the way, which I could not believe. They bought it for $300 million in 2004. So I want you guys to understand this. Comcast invested $300 million, which adjusted for inflation would be $510 million today, to invest in their cable network, their growing cable network that will soon be known as G4. So when you look at the grand timeline here from like 2002 all the way to essentially a couple of years ago when this thing fell apart again, they've invested nearly $1 billion, all adjusted for inflation, into the entity we now known as G4, a network that is only really known for like 2 shows, if we're being completely honest, while we introduce our guy Spencer here in this conversation.
What up, afternoon on this hot ass Saturday? What's going on, friends and friends and friends?
Yeah. So we're literally talking about how Comcast blew $300 million, 510 adjusted for inflation, on a little ditty called Tech TV, and they merged those two into G4 Tech TV. This was a merger, like I said, it only lasted all of 8 months. Here's essentially what happened. Tech TV had an office in San Francisco, and then G4 had its offices in LA. They essentially told everyone from San Francisco, hey, come down to LA, we're going to put you guys in all one hub, and then we're going to make this super channel all work together. It's going to be the best of your channel, the best of our channel. It's going to be amazing. By about 6 months, they fired everyone. And everyone who literally had just moved from San Francisco to Los Angeles, which is not a cheap endeavor by any stretch of the imagination, just in case you're wondering, they were all let go within 6 months. And then G4 Tech TV very quickly just became G4 again. The only difference is that now they have the video library of Tech TV associated with this, and the rest is history. Now, the reason why it brings up such a sore spot with me is because when you look at that 8 month period and what G4 Tech TV was, it was very much a channel that was well before its time in many aspects, but had the potential to grow into something that was truly great in essence. But the problem was that the people running Comcast at the time were looking for essentially a Spike TV clone rather than trying to be their own original thing. This is the problem when you're dealing with major corporations. They're not looking at the potential, they're just kind of looking at the X's and O's, and they just thought that at the time, like I said, cable time, that, oh yeah, that Spike TV is pretty popular with the 18 to 34 male demographic, let's try to be like them, rather than realizing the nugget that they had, and building off of that, we ended up essentially becoming the network known for cops and cheaters. But if you go back to that catalog that they had there, they had a lot of great content. Some of it is well before its time, and this is kind of what we'll pause here because I want Spencer to give his insight here. What do you remember from this short-lived period of G4 Tech TV, and were you a fan of Tech TV or G4 before they merged?
Yeah, so what I really remember from this period is I liked Tech TV mostly because I liked what was it, Leo Laporte, right? When his show was on there, when you
Screensavers, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. When people would just call in and ask their problems, you know, maybe I learned something, but it was also just sort of kind of nice background noise. You pick something up every once in a while. G4, I remember. Okay, so the thing that always got me about G4 was it felt like they were trying too hard, right? Like, you know, I knew people who played video games. I was a guy who played video games. We didn't care about.
Real quick, do you mean like in the early stages or at the late stages where the kind of this popularity?
Still the early stages, still before the merger. Yeah, like it was just, to me, it felt like you guys are trying a little too hard. I get it, but it feels like you're doing, you know, more entertainment, the CNN style, than you're actually doing actual news and reporting. So I was like, okay, you're on, that's fine. When they merged, I thought it was a smart idea, like you said, but I think you hit the nail on the head. They were just sort of ahead of their time in the sense that, like, they were, I think, like, they had, if both of those entities got started even 4 or 5 years later, right when podcasts and YouTube were starting out, they would have had a much better time. But yeah, like you said, ahead of their time. And then, of course, what's to say after the merger, the revival, everything just went downhill from there. You can't put lipstick on a pig; it will still be a pig.
Yep, and that's unfortunately exactly what they ended up doing here. So real quick, you guys apparently really like this during here. So before we really get into the G4 stuff, I guess we have sponsors now. So we have sponsors that are not paying us because they're probably dead, but they do have advertisements to ship over to us.
Commercial break, everybody.
So let's check out this commercial break from our boys at Chef Boyardee. Remember when they were a thing?
Oh, man, Chef Boyardee.
You know, some people say it's tough being a big show, but I gotta tell you, it has its advantages. Playing with the neighborhood kids is always fun. And hailing a calf is no sweat. The thing I like best about being so big is I always have room for my favorite meal, Chef Boyardee overstuffed Italian sausage ravioli. It's the only meal large enough to satisfy my oversized hunger.
Yep.
I
saw that coming.
Commercials are obviously very, very cheesy, very, very, like, not well acted, but I kind of miss them. Like the very blatant, like, Hi, I'm, Jacob Smith, and I love, cornflakes. There's
Cornflakes, good.
Yeah. What's the
Well,
I like the one a little while ago that was like the chunky one where like the chunky
Oh, the
soup and the
overstuff.
football and the football player's mom, he's like it's good, but nothing better than my mama's, and she's like in the locker room and she goes,
Yep. Even in a paid advertisement, he had to sit for his mom's cooking. Yeah, I remember.
Always, you know what would happen if he didn't.
Yep. So let's talk about a few of these shows here in his lineup, because like I said, this was a great time and also a very, very short-lived one. It was basically from 2004 to 2005. By 2005, G4, or Comcast, I should say, pulled the plug on the entire experiment, absorbed a couple of shows that they thought were good enough to absorb, and threw away everything else. And it became very apparent very quickly that they were no longer interested in being the home for gamers, quote-unquote. We'll blend into that when that show goes on here, but these are one of the shows that I think was probably the most ahead of its time period, and it was a show called G4 Arena, and it was one of the original G4 shows. This was a pre-merger show that they did, and I think I talked about this a little bit before here, how this was a show that was so early in its adaptation, and they clearly didn't have much of a budget behind it. They literally paid the people who were there to play video games on this show in pizza, because they obviously couldn't pay the money to be on the show, because that would absolutely destroy the show's budget. So it's like, hey, you and your friends want to come down to G4 Studios and play video games for television? We'll give you a Little Caesars if you guys
pay you
head
in
down.
layers of flavors.
Yeah, dude. What is it called? Paying them in exposure, pretty much.
Essentially, right? And it was like, yeah, if you're with your little video game clan like out there, it's like you're not going to turn that down. So it's like, yeah, sure, we'll come out there to be on TV, even though we don't know where to find G4 on the show guide at all. I'm pretty sure it's on channel.
What was it, like DirecTV only?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere on channel 327, whatever that is.
Not far. I remember it was 385. I remember it because I would type it into my remote, the big giant remotes used to have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
385 on DirecTV. 385.
I honestly can't even remember what it was in San Diego at the time. I want to say it was like 120 something around those lines. But like I said, for this time period, the novelty of even having 120 something channels was like, oh my God, we'll never run out of things to watch now. And then within like 3 years, we all ran out of things to watch. But that's
we immediately ran out of things to watch. And so now it's like all music channels up there.
Oh yeah, right. Here's music choice. Here's 70s disco, 70s rock, 70s pop.
Yeah, here's 60s like R&B, 70s R&B, 75 to 80 R&B. Like, it's so specific. It's so dumb.
Here's the Led Zeppelin channel.
It's like you're going through all those rock channels, and all of a sudden it's like African tribal music.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then you're back, hits of the 80s. Oh, okay.
Like Mozart.
World music, man. World music.
Mozart.
I remember as a kid thinking like learning, like hearing that term world music and being like, oh, that's got to be like just, rock music and pop music and R&B and like, that kind of music from around the world. Nope. It's like, our native music and stuff, which is cool, but not exactly what like a 5-year-old.
It's like the most ethnic music they could find to put on that station. It's like you turn it immediately, it's like,
and you're like, oh, where is this? And you no matter what you guess, they'll end up being like, oh, this was a like pre-battle song sung by like one tribe in like the Russian Alps in like 1 year.
It's like you look up you hit the info button. Remember, they bring up the channel info button. They would play this song. It's like homeless guy at Walmart 2024.
It does that, or it sends it like. If you Shazam like the world music channel, it sends you to that GeoGuessr guy, and it tells you where it's from.
He knows where everything is.
Shut up! Stop asking questions.
That would be a great TikTok.
It takes $5 out of your bank account automatically. It says thanks for the lunch money, nerd, and like flips to Jammin' Z90.
Yeah. We spent on like a 2-minute tangent about Europop. Let's talk about G4 Arena.
Yeah, right.
Two teams will rumble, but which one will stumble? We'll find out on the Destination Vacation season of Arena!
and he was never seen again.
Well, I mean, he's dead, so yeah, that's kind of the reason why.
Whoa.
Look at this Metal Gear Solid 3 intro.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't know where all these assets came from. Either somebody was paid to make all of this, or some stock site went way fucking balls to the
the show
wall.
that turns multiplayer.
Give him credit. I mean, they made this intro, what, 2003? I mean,
Yeah,
you
somewhere
know.
around there.
Like, even
I mean-
now, TV shows don't make shows like that, any intros like that anymore.
I'm about to say, you guys seen computer animation in the 90s and the 2000s. This was not great, so...
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. Like,
I'm Lee Ram, and
crazy.
thank you for joining us once again
What are they
on
all
that
at
long
the
and wonderful
payment
road to this year's
pizza?
Tournament of Champions, where our teams will compete for that all-expenses-paid week of fun in the sun. And last time on the show, you remember them, Team Rednecks. They were fantastic, and they secured their place in the Hall of Champions
Team
with
Rednecks.
their, get this,
I don't know them.
consecutive victory. So today, we have two brand new
You
freshman
don't know the
squads hoping to
Necks,
follow in
bro?
those footsteps.
No,
Team Race
I'm not a
Strikers
Necker.
and Team Impact players. You're going to meet them in a moment, and they will go at it DDR Max 2, Dance Dance Revolution, SOCOM 2, U.S. Navy SEALs, and Unreal Tournament 2004.
You're
Let's go to
fired.
Kevin at the console pit. Who, Kevin, I hear you're wearing some new shoes.
That's right, Lee. They're
Kevin!
boogie boots, and I hope the players brought
Oh,
theirs because
look at his
today
hair
we're getting
down.
things
That is
shaking with
bad,
DDR Max 2 on the
man.
PlayStation 2. Now, Rhythm is the name of this game. So
This
you know
was-
what I'm saying.
This was definitely broke Kevin Pereira by any stretch
Oh,
of the
for sure.
They pay him in
Pretty
pizza.
damn interesting. Now each player will get a chance
This is
to be
bologna
one man
sandwiches and
override
cheese,
on the
Kevin
gas pedal.
Pereira, right
The highest
here.
score will win the round. But enough talking. Let's get to the dancing.
This
So
was
the-
taking a bunch of Tupperware to
Round
the
one of our
craft
console
table.
game, DDR Kevin.
So the one thing that really worked about this show is that obviously, as you guys know now, esports is like a massive industry now. Like if you see it on like Twitch, you'll see it on YouTube. There's like you can even bet on esports in Vegas now. That's how big the whole thing has gotten. But at the time period of 2004, you didn't really have a whole lot of shows that kind of fit that bill. So this was one of the first iterations that you had of it, and even I'm a little surprised that they kind of gave up on the show as early as they did, because this was their own baby. Like this wasn't one of the carryovers from Tech TV, and it seems like this was probably one of the better shows they came up with, and then they just immediately abandoned it.
Yeah. Like this is probably one of their better concepts. Like you said,
Round two underway.
like
On your
they
left.
play like multiple games, don't they? Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The shift we had in like that era away from like multiplayer games towards more like single player stuff probably hurt that, but we still had arcade games and like Halo, and I could see this still being a cool thing if you I don't know, don't ask Mr. Beast for advice, but I think we could do something like
Yeah,
this.
right. Yeah, Mr. Beast has to cause you human suffering and turmoil before he even
That's
gives you
what I'm saying.
We'll need a warehouse.
Play
Yeah.
play GDR or you won't go to the bathroom.
And it is all Suzuki.
See that? You see Zeus? Zeus there on the DDR.
Okay, how embarrassing would it be for us if we had to basically be referred to as our gamer tags, especially our gamer tags from like back in the day?
I was
Like,
gonna
you
say,
know-
like nowadays, I think like Cider and me, like Mav, ours are kind of like we're fine with that. Those aren't bad. But if I was still Maverick 022, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
awful.
My first, see, I had one of those early Google emails where you didn't have to have a number in your password. You didn't have to use a number in your name. That's very early Google email, Gmail emails. And it was I'm not gonna give it to you because you'll email me. But it was a very crawling in my skin screen name.
Hell yeah.
And on the left, the impact
So
Well, it's better than the people who thought they were funny in like 2008 Modern Warfare lobbies, like Poon Slayer 2929 or something like that.
God, right?
yeah, there's a new trend on TikTok where girlfriends read their boyfriend's gamer tag out loud.
Holy shit! Is it like head of divorce proceedings?
Well, no, like the girls are just like, do you seriously let your friends call you that? And he's like, this guy's like Copernicus. Is that what his name is? It's like Copernicus, but Copernicus. She's like, you let your friends call you that?
Hey, you know what?
Change my name.
You know what? If LeBron James demands his son call him GOAT, then I can be referred to as Mr. Selena Gomez. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I still assert that is child abuse. I still want somebody on that.
Oh, man. That's bad.
Military terms means team deathmatch. Now our squads will play.
Does anyone remember SOCOM? SOCOM was basically like the Call of Duty before Call of Duty, but it was at the time period where kind of like online gaming was still very, very rough during that time period, so it wasn't nearly as popularized until obviously I guess you could say technology caught up with the times.
Because it was like PS2 exclusive, and to play it, you had to go get the like extended PS2 adapter. And like you said, not a lot of people had internet, like stable internet back in the day. It was a mess. But if you had that one rich friend or whatever, or just that friend who figured out how to set it up, and you got to play it, it was pretty damn fun.
I mean, I remember this too. It was probably like 2001, 2002. Counter-Strike Go. I remember that they held a tournament of this at the mall. It was Mission Valley Mall, because Spencer knows where this is at too. And they had that game, like people were like sitting up there like playing, but obviously it was kind of like a LAN setup, so you had to be in the vicinity. It wasn't like online capability or whatnot. But I remember it being like super fun, like back in the day too. And like I said, the technology hadn't quite caught up with it yet. It hadn't kind of got there, but it was really setting the stage. Which is, like I said, I think that this show really just comes to be like one of their more blatant missed opportunities when it comes to essentially, let's be honest here, about 5 years after this show got pulled, they were at a point where they were struggling to have original content. They didn't have any at all, and it's like, well, you had this, why did you get rid of this if you were struggling for content?
Honestly, I wonder this, and this isn't to like excuse them, because if they still should have like played the ball, like played the game, even if this sucks. But I wonder if, as they were getting bigger, game studios were starting to be like, oh, you have to pay us to play DDR or whatever, right? Like license it. And they went, oh, that's a lot. We can't do it. Again, they still should have, because again, shitty penalty, but they could have made so much more.
Yeah,
they could have still been alive.
Somebody said, pay? We're not paying for this. Pay.
Well, to be completely honest with you, watching other people play games really didn't catch on until the Let's Play phenomenon in the 2010s. In the early aughts, like even Game Grumps struggled. Even PewDiePie was struggling to attract an audience. It wasn't until the 2010s that it really started kicking off to like sit and watch a half-an-hour video of PewDiePie stumbling around in a horror game, screaming to himself in his home computer room.
Oh, you're 100% right. But like I think what Jacob and I are getting at is that like what sets this show apart from just a regular stream is like that competitive aspect, right? Like you're putting
people are there
live, like on, or I guess
it serves kind of like a game show in that aspect too, where game shows are still popular.
Yes, the game showing. Yeah, I'm just cutting you off. Go.
No, that's fine. We have another ad here for another company.
Commercial break.
Commercial break. Here we go.
Now you can rent all new releases or anything else for 5 days.
Really?
Yeah, so you can just enjoy it at your own pace. At other video stores, you only get 1 day on new releases. So you can't enjoy it because you're too worried about getting it back on time. And then you got to fly out the door in order to get to the video store before it closes. And the clock is ticking, the phone is ringing, the late fees are piling up so high.
Oh, the best. The unis.
He's really into special effects.
Only Hollywood Video has Star Wars The Phantom Menace for 5 days, so you can watch it again and again. Welcome to Hollywood Video.
Good luck finding it.
Yeah, no, Hollywood Video went out of business a long time ago. So if Blockbuster bit the dust, Hollywood Video bit the dust even harder. So that's the best way to.
Which sucked because they were the better ones, but I guess Blockbuster was just more convenient or better at business,
At the time period, Blockbuster had the name brand, and that's what kind of separated them from Hollywood Video. So like everyone knew what Blockbuster was. Only people who knew of like Hollywood Video and Game Crazy actually like went there. But believe it or not, there was a time period in this country where people paid a lot of money to rent a mediocre movie on a Friday night with a big tub of popcorn and basically rent it for a day, and then you have to make sure that you rewinded it all the way back to the beginning and put it back into the little drop-off slot before your time was up, and then they were going to charge you a late fee, and the next thing you know, if you didn't have your late fees counted, they put you into collections, and now you have your credit score is being affected because you returned
seriously
returned the Blockbuster movie.
Like as Jacob said, for our younger people out there, even if you're just like 2 years younger than us, right? Movie, like going and renting a movie on the weekend used to be a solid like event. You would be like, oh, that's what I'm doing this weekend. I'm gonna get this, or I'm gonna get this video game. Like if you were a kid and you were having sleepovers, right? It's like, oh, I got to rent 5 movies. We're gonna watch them all. It was crazy, and we lost that with streaming. Streaming's obviously more convenient, and now I don't have to talk to any jack shit like idiot behind the counter. But there is a magic that is gone.
A lot of teenage stoners lost their jobs when video stores went out of business, unfortunately.
Hey, that's not fair.
So-
They went on to be teenage stoner Subway sandwich artists.
So we had Movie Gallery up here, and that was apparently a subsidiary of Hollywood Video, so that was even worse than Hollywood Video's end because it was
They were even lower on the totem pole.
even lower. If you could think
It's
of a
lower on the
position.
totem pole, and it's in like the outbutts of Maine, right? So they're like,
Yeah.
okay, we just need to have a presence there.
Well, and that's just what it was. It was a very light presence. So every strip mall had. It was before Redbox got off the ground, and Redbox, of course, took over because who wants to pay for a storefront? You know,
Right?
They had a high trust society, so it wasn't like those things were going to get knocked over. You know, people were going to like take care of them and stuff, and they did. There's still a few of them lingering around, but
Oh yeah, there still are. Still like it's we always forget that there are still people who like don't have power or like internet, people like forest rangers or whatever. So these things do still exist, but it's like really rare, and good luck finding anything within the last like 2 years.
right. Well, again, like we're one of the things that happened to me is I went in there and I was notorious for this because for whatever reason my brain would shut off when I would go in there. I don't understand why. I assume it's just because like everything was everywhere, all over the place, and so I just got overwhelmed with all the options.
Right.
And so by the time I made it to the front desk, I was always screwing up movie names. And I went in there with my first fiance once, and I wanted to get a movie for my mother because it was that old movie it was an old movie. It was with Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson where they were old men. It was called The Bucket List. Yeah.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, on my way from the 20-foot walk from the front door to the counter, my brain decided it wasn't the bucket list, it was the butt fuck it list. And so I proudly strode up to the counter, put my hands up on top of the counter, and I said, "Excuse me, do you have the butt fucking list?" And this
Sir,
worker looked at me and said, "We don't have a beaded curtain section here."
Yes. That's exactly what I
That's
was gonna say.
incredible. Holy shit.
I don't
You
know
have to
what
go to the
happened.
video store down the street for that.
I don't know what happened, but my brain was like, that's surely the title about 2 old men dying. That's surely the title of that movie, The Butt Fucking
Do you know what's hilarious about that? Because, like I said, this is a concept that the people younger than us just have no mind of whatsoever. But it's like, yeah, in the old, like, small mom and pop video stores, they had obviously the beaded curtain section was where you find all the pornography movies, right? And I just always thought to myself, even though we were clearly too young to go into those sections of the video store, I just think the mental mindset of just like walking around and checking out pornography movies as if it's the same thing. It's like, oh, the new Star Wars is coming out. Here, let me read the back of the box. Who's in this movie? What is the description of this thing say? It's like, can you imagine like being in that section, especially if there's like 2 guys like in there just
That's the thing that always got me about it, right? Is like, okay, if I go into like that curtain and I'm physically renting like an adult movie,
yeah.
I know that it's you. Like, I know that it's actively been like watched before with the same purpose, and I don't. Sure, in the streaming,
and then you have to hope that the person like washed their hands before they returned
exactly.
it.
like there's a detachment in the streaming age where, yeah, sure, a video might have like 1,000,004 views, but I'm not like sharing my download of it with anybody else.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
the beaded curtain section was infamous. There used to be a very long line of jokes made about that space, and now when you bring it up, there's only like a handful of people in the room that even know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. Now
used to
when
get
you
mad
tell that
because I'm
joke,
like-
you only get a couple of chuckles, and this is like from the older gentleman.
Yeah, right, exactly. I used to think like it was bullshit because why would you put like the adult things in behind like a cool beaded curtain that kids would clearly want to go behind? Like that that feels mean.
Well,
They should have put like a danger sign with like a skull like written on there, or it's skull and like fire.
like
wouldn't attract
taxes
them at
here
all.
or something.
Just put Mario out there saying, "Don't come in here. Don't come in here."
That's
Yeah.
basically what they were doing.
But yeah, the beaded curtain was only there because they needed to create a separation between the two spaces for legal insurance purposes and for coding purposes, and that's the only reason why that's there. Is it creates a visual obstruction between the two spaces without visually obstructing it to consumers. It was the sneakiest, smarmiest way to get pornography in front of potential consumers. You know,
Ding, ding, ding.
While you're renting your 5 movies for your sleepover with your friends, Dad's renting 5 movies for his sleepover with Mom.
Yeah, right. Or your divorced dad's just very, very lonely on a Friday night.
Yeah. How come my movie says Die Hard and yours says just Hard? That's weird.
Yeah,
that's like the
Is that a
premise of one of the
sequel?
best, South Park episodes of all time.
I will tell you this though. So we talked about a show that aged very well, but unfortunately, there were a handful of shows that didn't age very well, and it's only because the concept of these shows kind of died very quickly with the new trend of video games. So if you go to an old show, and you remember an old G4 show called Cheat? Does anyone remember this? So it was a show with Kirsten Adams. Or Kirsten Holt, who I believe is Kirsten Adams now, but she was doing a show basically talking about video game cheat codes. And I know this is a completely foreign concept to a lot of you because there used to be things called cheat codes in video games, and it used to be awesome, right? And it goes all the way back to, like, you know, the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo days, 64, stuff like that. But as the generations of video game consoles kind of, you know, progressed, all of a sudden they just got rid of all that stuff. They didn't add it on. We now call that DLC content. So if you want, you know, the ability to, you know, run around the game without dying or taking any damage, you gotta pay for that. So we're not giving you that for free, and that kind of killed it. But this is a little short video here from the old episode of Cheat from our good buddy the San Andreas. You guys remember San Andreas? They had a lot of cheat codes, right?
Way back in the day.
Yep, here we go.
What up, my shorties and my willies? Put your caps back for the 411 on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
She's having a
Right there on
stroke.
Cheat. Word.
Look, it was the early 2000s. You gotta keep that in mind here too. So, you know.
Just read the cue card, Becky. Try not to think about it.
Yo, what up, son?
Cue cards clearly made for a black man. We're gonna put Becky in here and have her deliver them. It's gonna be great. Remember that? Those weird camera angles of the 90s and early 2000s? Where, like, somebody just set a camera down on a table and that was, like, good enough.
Latest installment in the Grand Theft Auto series, GTA San Andreas. Now, I know you're itching to bust out your gap, but keep it in your pants while we orient you around this game's enormous interactive environment. It's 1992.
Does this count as cultural appropriation? Does this count?
You know, that Tumblr's going to be very mad about this. I can tell.
I feel like if we go any deeper into this video, it's going to be, yo, what up, my niggas? Let's talk about the next stage.
And you've got
The producer's just
on
like,
your
stop.
mind.
But I can't say it. I can't.
CJ
Oh,
to your friends, and you
No, it's cool. I said it with the A.
San Andreas.
My black friend said it was okay.
Head west
Chill.
from Liberty City to return home to bury your recently murdered mother and dig into your own tumultuous past.
Hey, I don't know why this had to happen, but I promise you, I'm gonna find out who killed your mom.
Like any
Clearly
hero,
recorded from the
anti or
television in the
otherwise,
room that they
you
were
face
playing the game in.
obstacles on this quest
Amazing.
to find your mother's killer. From petty pigs.
You got to remember, this is PS2 capabilities.
Who you calling boy, fool? Well, what should I call her? Midget?
To solicitous siblings.
Hey, she was my mama too. Now for the past 5 years, she wasn't me.
And power mad gang
Yo,
bangers.
yee ass haircut.
San Andreas presents a memorably unseemly menagerie of usual suspects. Not that it's all bad.
I love how San Andreas as a video game, by the way, was essentially just, this was life in Los Angeles in 1992. We really made a video game about how black people in the hood just shot each other a lot. And it became one of the most successful video games of all time.
Everybody was like, yep, all right. I'll take that bet.
Yeah.
You get a number 9, though, with your Diet Coke.
We're going to give them a bench press simulator.
Famished fashion models.
And a
If you're
barf
pushing
simulator.
yourself to peak performance, go pick a fight with the gym leader. Once you've whooped his ass, he'll teach you more offensive moves you can take to the streets.
So pay attention and you might learn something.
Like,
In
pull a
San
gun.
Andreas, as don't
The
make
most
man,
important
ain't got
fighting
no
move you can learn.
But man isn't here, cabron. That's as far as you'll get with me.
You'll need buku bucks for fly threads and all that glitters if you want to stand a chance with the honeys. The babes are more than just arm candy who offer the occasional dating perks.
Whoa, king, baby.
They'll stash your weapons for you if you get busted and unlock secret outfits to wear around town.
G4 was like, fuck it. We're gonna just show them a scene where 2 video game characters are implied to have sex. It could be right after school. Fuck it.
And if the kids
Learn
actually,
someday.
if the kids actually tell them it's one of those lowriders that bounce up and down.
Yeah, it's just busted.
Down with the grove and the ball is on. So watch yourself from now on, CJ.
Yeah, for sure. You know that.
Is there a decent day spa in San Andreas? All that sun can give a girl laugh lines. Right now, it's time to help out a
Boo!
friend.
Stop trying to be funny. Boo!
Yeah.
Girl somewhere else.
One thing I will have to admit, the writing staff of G4 was not great, as evidenced by certain shows like, Attack of the Show that came on several years after this one. So, that's what happens when you hire cheap, I guess. But
Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
the reason essentially why the show died is because, look, video game companies just stopped putting cheat codes in video games. So it's like there's no point of having a show called Cheat when cheat codes in and of itself are essentially extinct, which is why I think that there is a big portion of people who are into kind of retro video games now is because it's the only place where you can go and, get the old school feeling of, like I said, unlocking invincibility or unlimited rings or something like along those lines. Something that felt like you were playing the game on God mode, essentially.
Check this out. It's so funny you say that. So Nintendo, they just dropped the Switch 2 and that new Mario Kart, right? So in Mario Kart, apparently there is a mirror mode, and you have to do a bunch of you have to complete all the races, then you have to go to these specific spots, then you have to beat this character, and then it unlocks. Very, very classic video game sense of sort of discovery, right? And the only way we found out about this is not because somebody discovered it, but because unprompted yesterday, Nintendo sent out emails to everybody who had a My Nintendo account to play on the Switch and said, oh, by the way, if you're looking to unlock mirror mode, here's how you do it. And it's why, you included a secret thing for us all to unlock, and then you just told us without us even asking. What are we fucking doing here? It's so it got me thinking. It's this weird. I know this sounds dramatic, but I think Cider can probably translate this into something more concrete and less dramatic for me. But with the rising epidemic of directionlessness and listlessness among especially men in current society, exploration, right? That sense of discovery, of achievement. Yes, it's very, very small, but like Jacob said, unlocking unlimited rings, getting a different costume, those were small little achievement discovery things that could, keep you going, make you, want to keep playing, incentive, yada, yada, yada. Now we don't have that. Now you just buy whatever you want. It's not a giant thing, as much as the loneliness epidemic and all that, but I still think it's a tiny thing.
Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I just wanted to say here that we have A1R Gamer. I think that A1 Air Gear. Sorry. Very sorry. My brain is not
Air Gear
here. Very sorry. We have Air Gear here, and he says, I think this show could have worked if they described the cheese strats, but those didn't become well known until much later in the internet's life. And he goes on to expand on it. He says most people doing cheese strats were early speedrunners, which was very niche back then. But he's right. And if you don't know, the
100%.
cheese strats are when you exploit the game mechanics to create a effectively a cheat code, but otherwise just a more accelerated run.
Or you you break it for an advantage or something. Cider pretty much covered it. I don't know why I added to that.
Well, here's another show that didn't last very long with the format, but it was a pretty nice show when it did come on. It was a show called Filter. And Filter was a simple concept. Let's just get an attractive young lady on the show and list literally the top 10 things of whatever the hell we can think about at the time.
Yeah.
That will definitely...
That's what this was called? I actually,
yeah.
When you were saying Filter, I was like, wow, I actually don't know this one, but never mind. Okay.
Oh, you know it. We all know it.
Oh, yeah, I know it. Now I know it.
So this is...
I didn't know it had a name.
I paid it to leave.
You're about to embark on games that have everyone from Senator Joe Lieber
yeah, right?
to your grandmother.
This is what your 14-year-old's enjoying after school.
Controversial games of all time. I hope you have the balls to hang because the hits the fan right now on Filter.
Yeah, and she's
Mom, I can explain.
This is educational, Mom. Trust me.
I'm trying to be in tune with the culture. Longest fucking intros in the world. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Hello,
That was it
I'm
back
Diane
then,
Misoda,
you know?
and welcome to Filter.
True, that is
Top
true.
10 video game countdown is voted on by you, the viewer, at G4TV.com. Now, when I was a kid, I thought Pitfall Harry was hot and E.T. was rebellious. Well, a lot has changed since then. Today, gamers would rather pee on hookers than chase pellets and swing from vines. And thanks to that, you're
that true?
we have before you
Oh,
the most
GTA.
controversial games
GTA.
ever
1000%.
made. But before we get to your
I
top
speak
10
for the
reasons to be a
gamers.
menace
I
to
am the
society
game
and
life.
gawk askance with
Or
fat women,
the lore
we cornered some
gamer.
of you to give us
It's like the
your take on
Spartacus
what
scene.
makes the game
I'm a
controversial.
gamer.
Let's see what you said.
G4 is like, we are not going to make any bones about this. We have an assurance adjuster and a car salesman explaining to you the virtues of big titty video game girls.
No, but that's,
You know?
that's why they brought in Cliffy B, Mr. Gears of War himself, because he's hit,
Look,
he's edgy.
I would say this. I normally beforehand would not have given enough merit to the idea that, violent video games inspires violent behavior and stuff like that until I met Orange Hat. Then I had to completely reconsider my entire world.
Wow.
Until I was like, well, maybe I was wrong about this.
He doesn't even go to this school.
Jacob retroactively signed up to like vote Skipper Gore.
Exactly. It's like, perhaps I was too harsh on you.
Love you,
You play these games and you experience them as escapism and you realize that they're sort of alternate realities. So I think in the right context, they can be seen as sort of games that in some ways let you get aggression out inside of the game world instead of in the real world.
Oh, okay.
I think they do have some impact, absolutely, but I don't think it's necessarily a correlation where, a violent game makes people more violent or a sexual game makes people think more sexually or anything like that. I think, they're entertainment experiences and should be treated as that.
That is a big, waste of space down there for that Chiron.
Now it's time to get to the boobage. Let's face it, there are certain games you
Thank
don't want
God.
to
Okay, yeah, let's go. Let's
like
do
a game
this.
that puts raunchy, bare-breasted women on BMX bikes and has you
Oh my-
fantasizing
this-
about what it would be like to touch them.
Okay, does anyone actually remember this game? Because I do, and it was just like, to me, this game was always more of a meme than it was an actual game. Did anyone actually play this one?
It was like Goat
I'm with you.
Simulator.
I played it. It is a very bad game, and it's just like, okay, pixel boobs.
Yep.
Cool.
X is at 10.
Okay, real quick, I just have to throw this out there. You can tell that this is an old clip because you see down there, not only does it have the G4 Tech TV ticker on there, but it's also leading people to an advertisement to Circuit City. Remember Circuit City?
Oh,
Circuit City.
shit. I like Circuit City.
You fucked up.
This was literally someone said, let's do Tony Hawk but with boobs.
Included these
Yeah.
in-between scenes of these scores strippers that would basically strip for you.
See, that's the
inside
thing.
of the game.
If your reward for playing a game or whatever, engaging with something, is just seeing images of boob, there's not a lot of point to it. Or you have to really make the gameplay good, because otherwise people will go, oh, right, I can just go look at boob.
Flying for no reason and pins and hookers and dog crap. And why?
Controversy is great if it's on top of a great game, but if it's just controversy for the sake of controversy, gamers see through that. They didn't buy the game.
Huh. Wow, what a philosophy.
For all Dorito Pope kind of sucks, he still is kind of like, I still have a little bit of tiny respect for him because he still has always been, you know, on the level.
Then get your fat
Even if he is a shill.
Carmageddon blows up at number 9.
Yeah, you little bitch.
This game sucked too.
Spencer, I think I'm realizing a trend with a lot of these games. They're just not very good.
I think you might be onto something, my friend.
Wait a minute.
Carmageddon is a cool game, but it's blatantly controversial. It's just basically a driving game where you run people over for points. It's a funny game, you know, it's got a morbid aspect, of course, to it, but it's so gimmicky, it's so fun.
Gruesome, and it was kind of old technology. What they were trying to do.
This is a game that gets very old very fast.
I was about to say, it's these are all like, I think I found the trend. They're video games as made by the Daily Wire.
I swear I'm so edgy.
Carmageddon, one of my personal favorites, and that's
Oh, Batman.
the graphic nature of the subject matter.
Here's what we're gonna do next time. We're gonna do Sonic the Hedgehog with a gun, and then we're gonna make him black. Now, to be fair,
the other kind.
yeah, it's like, the reason why he has a gun is not because he's black. I just want to make that very clear.
Ethics of a dog-killing mailman. And don't forget about our favorite carnage, Doom.
Well, I know what I'm gonna make with an AI.
Gameplay has it big for its violence and gore. Id Software's classic
You can
shooter
probably
has
just search
PC
like
mods everywhere.
Shadow in a
But who really
do-rag, and
gives
you'll probably you don't even need.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was ghetto Naruto. I can't imagine Shadow got away.
Look, real ones remember in the 90s when they would do like gangsta Looney Tunes on t-shirts, all right?
Now, shout out to our buddy the vet over at Hami Media Group because he's been playing this Doom game, the new one that's come out over the last few months. But yeah, if you look at the graphics for this original Doom game, like who here is old enough to remember playing Toy Story on either the Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis?
Fuck that game, but I do remember it.
That game's graphics is so bad and so terrible. Like all I can think of is that when I'm watching this.
You know the funny thing about Doom?
And we used to think those were like the peak of everything.
id Software got numerous letters from religious groups being offended. No one grasped the concept that you were actually killing demons. That was the point. You were on God's side. It wasn't as controversial as people think.
If the regular version of Doom is an offensive.
Yeah, that was always the weird part about Doom is I guess the hyper-violence was what turned off the Christian groups that were opposed to it, but like it's quite literally a guy going to hell and murdering demons. So
as somebody who grew up in church and like had a dad who actually reacted like that, it was a case of they reacted at first and they were like, oh gosh, there's demons in this, and then once they found out like what it was about, they had to pivot. They had already like doubled down way too hard, you know what I mean? So they're like,
so basically, once their know-it-all son had to explain to him, here's actually the concept of the game, they went, oh, okay, I guess it's not that bad. That's essentially what happened.
It's either like a know-it-all son, or they like one pastor was like, I will take the hit, I will go, it's up, like, see what's in this game, and he walked out of it and he's like, this shit is tight.
Again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a bit of a curmudgeon, but I'd rather play the demon shooter game than the game where I have to hunt bears. So I mean,
yeah, right. I mean, that would have been a great marketing outreach, right? They bring the Doom truck to your local Baptist church, and they're like, no, just play the game for 5 minutes. We promise. It's all you got to do is play it for 5 minutes. And the guys are like, that's the commercial they make. They have the guys go in the truck, you hear the music play, the music and stuff like that.
Put, like demo discs in the back of like the teen Bibles or whatever.
Well,
I literally thought you were going to say that the tagline should be, at least we're not fucking bears.
Well, yeah, but it had been the old Doom, but they come out of the truck, like that's commercial. They come out of the truck, there's like the fog, they got their tie around their head and they're like, I love Jesus, that's how they come out of the it's playing the game. That would have been a great marketing campaign,
out,
right? Just have Doom guy and he's just got a regular like sweater that says Jesus is my friend, and like, oh, that would have been great. You make an animation of the Doom guy doing a Jesus is my friend song. That would have been great.
That would have been the more apropos like video game where the slogan of the main character is repent
as he's punching a demon in the face.
Yes, exactly.
And it'll still somehow turn you gay.
Yeah. Who knows? It might unlock something that was already there.
We have another commercial break.
Here we got another ad here. Remember lugs? Anyone still has a pair of lugs anywhere? Maybe somewhere on, I don't know, eBay. That's probably the places selling these days.
I know all these things, but I have to see them. Because you're like a year or two older than me, so you had just a little more consciousness than I.
Oh.
Nice. Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought this was an advertisement for a gay bar.
Nice. Thanks.
What kind of bathrooms do those guys go to?
You ever go to a baseball stadium?
No.
There you go.
You were not in the club. Is that what you were saying there?
I've only been to one sporting arena once, but it was very tall, very small because it's Maine. So it's like, so, and they had a trough, a pissing trough.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're talking about.
And
that's what they all have.
Is the just a quick little sidebar here. Is the pissing trough more off-putting than the wide open urinals with like no space in between?
No,
so,
I'm good with the trough, man. Get in, get out.
The pissing trough gets me because there's always that one guy that overdoes it. And so the edge of the pissing trough is like soaked and dripping. So you get your pants anywhere near that, it's over with. You got somebody else's wee on you.
Okay, don't get your pants near the trough. This is not.
I don't pee from 10 miles away, man. I'm not a pee sniper. My father wasn't like, all right, you got that 10 yards off. You got to hit that bottle. All right.
Work on your Kegels.
Yes, honey. I call it the super soaker.
I call it the like air to ground defense system.
That's the Golden Dome, all right. That's the
Golden Dome. There we go. Got it. I knew we'd get there.
You ever want to know how you get hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, F, and G all at the same time? Here you go.
This is hell.
Man. I'm a guy, right? Like I'm all up for like dumb, dirty challenges, but there's gotta be a limit, man.
Oh, man.
Imagine the smell.
You never get it out of your nose. That's in your sinuses for the rest of your life.
Dude.
Try and piss in the trash can.
You gotta upgrade to the Mountain Dew bottles. It's recycling. Take care of our planet. Mm-hmm. We've only got it for 3 more days before Iran blows us up.
Ah, yes, the age-old lesson that every man must pass to the younger man. If you find a bottle of Mountain Dew on the side of the road, it is not Mountain Dew.
It is not Mountain Dew. Do not drink it. Yes.
It's not Mountain Dew.
Throw it out.
It's not lemonade, and if it looks like iced tea, that person needs to go to the hospital.
Yep.
That is, you don't want yourself like that.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a little show called Anime Unleashed. Now, I remember the concept of Anime Unleashed. I wanted to ask Spencer if you remember this a little bit more than I do, because essentially, in a way to, I guess, fill up the, animation block here, or not only just that, this programming block to fill in time, they would kind of introduce people to, I guess, less popular forms of anime that obviously they can, obviously was a lot cheaper as far as the budget goes, but the kind of, obviously you couldn't afford, like, the Dragon Ball Zs, the Yu-Gi-Ohs and whatnot, but hey, if you're really a super hardcore nerd of anime back during that time period, this could be a great show to introduce you to some things that maybe you hadn't seen before. Here's a quick little advertisement of what Anime Unleashed was back in, I think it was 2002 to 2006 that this ran, its initial run.
Intriguing tales, spellbinding epics. The world's best anime is on Anime Unleashed. Weeknights at
Now they say the world's best. That's kind of debatable, but I mean, let's be honest.
We are stretching that.
There's at least a conversation to be had here before we get to that. But do you remember a little bit more about, I guess, the Anime Unleashed days during that time period?
But yeah, obviously, I was one of those big dumb weeby nerds. Anime Unleashed, I remember it being like cool. Like you would catch it on TV, and yeah, like Jacob said, the shows weren't probably necessarily good, but being, what were we, like 13 to 16, right? Like anything like that was just cool to see. Giant robots, big laser swords, big boobed anime women. The problem I ran into with Anime Unleashed, like I would watch it, it was cool. They would just like show one random episode of something and then just fucking bail. And like, yeah, okay, it's like a teaser tester show or series, but also, okay, you aired it once, you said the name one time, and now it's gone. So I remember like I liked it, but I didn't ever want to really watch it because if I liked something, this was before, Wikipedia, before internets, before pirating, I would never know what it was for the rest of my life or until the internet came along. But I didn't know that was coming. Or I guess I did at that point. Whatever, shut up.
Okay.
Get off my lawn.
I'm not as dumb as you think I am.
Exactly. I'm the one in charge here, okay?
So if you're not familiar with this stuff, though, like Witch Hunter Robin was although it was on Adult Swim, it carried the kind of esoteric attitude of a lot of the stuff you found on Anime Unleashed and Animondays. Is that was sort of where it wasn't a lower rung of anime. It was just difficult to explain to American audiences. It wasn't like My Hero Academia, where a child is punching a giant robot in the first episode. It's a little higher entry.
It's like first episode is everybody talking, and then maybe at the end it ends with like a stinger of a character drawing a gun on somebody coming into the room.
Right. Animonday had Gungrave. And Gungrave is quite possibly the most boring start to an anime you will ever encounter. That's about an undead cowboy murdering mutant mafia members using a coffin-sized machine gun that you'll ever find.
Do you know that's part of a video game, or like that's a video game adaptation?
Yeah.
And
somehow they made it boring.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like that game is sort of like Devil May Cry Light. And
it's a proto Devil May Cry, really.
Yeah, and that anime is so damn boring. It's like 12 episodes long. It's only the last two that really anything happens.
Yeah, and this is the thing is like Brandon Heat was a really interesting character, but they're like, no, you are not allowed to know, care, or even theorize about this character. All he does is shoot things and avoid affection.
Intro. Yeah, like, oh my god, what a
it's
myth.
So bad. But like by the 6th episode, you're in. It gets going by the 6th episode.
Absolutely. They give you just enough.
There was another show that was on the early iteration of G4 Tech TV that we can't show here because essentially what happened was Robot Wars. For those of you guys who are old enough to remember Robot Wars, it was the old, hey, let's get a bunch of nerds together, create robots, and have death battles through the robots and whatnot. Now, over the last couple of years, I think Pluto picked up Robot Wars, and they have like a 24-hour Robot Wars channel now. So if you want to watch all that old stuff, it's on Pluto for free. So the good news is you don't have to pay for it if you want to check it out. But to kind of ease this into obviously the concept of G4 Tech TV we're talking about tonight, here is an episode of BattleBots that ends in a very, very crazy manner. And I'm just say this: when you hear the sound that one of exactly right.
God,
just something simple. Just James. We're calling him Robot James.
Just a dude. It's just a dude against a roaming saw blade.
When you hear the sound that this robot makes, you just think that is the sound of literal death. And so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone to what happens next here. But here you go.
And yeah, guys, remember, keep in mind, these are like real saw blades, real motors. They're going all out. Yeah, they're not. No.
Come on! Come on! Huge shadow sparks!
So this thing...
That blade can kill someone.
It's meant to.
I do not feel safe, Chris.
You said I don't feel safe. Well, you're not going to.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, the little death-like LED.
Come on.
Yeah. Wait till they show you the plexiglass.
Oh shit.
Yeah. That's bulletproof glass, baby. It's bulletproof glass.
It pushed the saw blader out too.
Yeah.
That's fucking.
And it does a victory dance.
As it should.
Literally, the announcer's last words is, "I don't feel safe." Like, you should.
The match is over. The internal layer of this Lexan can take such a punishment, but only the internal one is broken. The outside one is unscathed.
Okay.
Everyone was safe in the audience all the way through, but I can't.
Yeah,
just real quick.
You plan that. Don't act like you planned that.
You know the producers are having an absolute heart attack behind it right now because they were this close to a massive lawsuit.
They were so mad and they just did not know like what to do with it. Whoever was in that room, whether it was like a fan, a caterer, the camera guy, that dude like got lit up.
Yeah, like the producers just collectively shit out their intestines because they were this close to like the biggest lawsuit that they've ever seen in the history of television, and that they actually broke through the full plexiglass.
Everybody would have gone to like prison for that one, or Tech TV.
That before.
They would have gotten Jeff Keighley just for association.
Thick panels of Lexan.
Yes.
And we're not going to be able to run another fight inside of this box until we replace this panel.
Right.
Amazing.
Someone's going to have to go to Home Depot so they can finish this show.
Fucking Lowe's.
They love the carnage.
It's like, are you guys not live? Oh, great.
Yeah.
So it was able to make it through that first one.
There was one that had a like just a thick ass piece of steel that was weighted at either perfectly weighted at either end, and it spun that at 2,000 RPMs.
What the fuck? I'm surprised the motor didn't just shit itself.
Well, that's just it. Is it like the machine was perfectly tuned to run this thing? They'd done the engineering perfectly to run this thing. The only problem they ran into was like, what if it hit something? Which was the intended goal of it, but like every test they did was like concrete, other steel, it just chewed right through it. It was absolutely unstoppable until it met another one that did the same thing. And when the two of those things met, it was one of the British ones. I think you can look up the clip. It literally lodged itself into that Lexan. That broke and it lodged itself into the Lexan. Like that was like a good 10-pound piece of metal when it was whole.
Right.
So 2 pounds of steel at 2,000 RPMs being shot put right into that Lexan. Yeah, the British one was even crazier. Like those guys were like, "Oh, my grandpa made this to kill the Nazis." Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know why they're Australian, but
well, you know what? Same shit. I mean, same subbreed of American, am I right? But I'm kidding. But no, like the Brits are terrifying because like Americans have that like redneck cowboy ingenuity, but they have like we have been fighting wars for fucking ever. We will make this like most effective to just ruin your life.
Yeah.
Look at their food.
Crazy. Like the Robot War, the early BattleBots and Robot Wars shows were just like, how close can we run against creating an international incident? Against creating an absolute mechanized atrocity, you know?
Or a better question, how much money does our parent company have? Because they're going to write a big check after this show is over.
It was a good network while we had it, boys.
I was going to say, like, how long do you guys want to stay on the air?
We have another commercial break.
Another ad here on our Untitled
commercial.
So much money here on this show.
You know, we're great together. But I found something new and more exciting, and it satisfies me in a way I never thought possible.
Introducing Herbal Essences Fruit Fusions with an exhilarating new fruit fragrance and an exotic blend of organic fruit extracts for hair that's naturally beautiful.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
No. New Fruit Fusions, a totally organic experience with a fragrant twist.
Yeah!
And you know what? To their credit, obviously that's not the effect, but they smelled really, really, really good. Like they were, I liked those.
It was very fruity. Let's just put it that way.
Very, very fruity.
I have the Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense, right?
And they say that a hero can save us, not gonna stand here and wait.
I liked the Complicated song when I was 14 or whenever that came out. I had that. See, I saw that movie 3 times in 2 different states. So.
Good. I would have too. I mean, I saw it 4 times in one state.
Well, see, the thing, yeah, today.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Do you not wake up in the morning and watch Spider-Man 1 on repeat?
No, I actually don't.
If your friends are not waking up and watching Spider-Man 1 on repeat, get new friends. Remember, your network is your net worth.
Remember, go out there to the Blockbuster 1 year after the movie goes out and just rent Spider-Man 1 over and over again.
Tobey Maguire.
The late fees were just as good as, or like just the same as renting it again. So why make an extra trip?
Give Sony all of your money. There's another show called G4TV.com. This was another show that was launched pre-merger. I know that's a weird name for the show.
I know,
but
yeah.
It was launched pre-merger, so this is one of the original shows of G4, and it basically got canceled around the same time all the other stuff of Tech TV got canceled. Again, for a network that was struggling with original content, here's a show that was basically 100% interactive. Essentially, the whole concept is that it was 3 or 4 people getting together in a round table and kind of doing what we do now, just talking about random stuff. It's like
now that I think about it.
I mean, it was essentially one of the early forms of kind of like, video podcasting that you guys got, but it was produced by Comcast. And I find it very, very interesting that in this conversation here, they were talking about the context of Star Wars and a new Star Wars game. And I know it's weird because this seems like kind of like a time from like yesteryear, considering how Star Wars has evolved over the last 15 years. But here's how people thought about Star Wars before Disney bought it. So here's a little clip for you guys. Oh, let me put the audio.
G4 all summer long.
Hey, come on in. See what Tina has to say. Did you spend all of your money this holiday season? Are you guys capital B-R-O-K-E?
Brazoke.
Brazoke? Then you are just in time for this week's No Budget
White women.
Gamer. And I know you're dying to know this week's No Budget Gamer is Live for Speed. That was actually recommended from Kevin, who's Captain Kimmy on our team. This is a single and multiplayer racing sim. It's great to play with a bunch of friends online. Features a bunch of different country and city tracks. Got all types of cars, anywhere from a rally.
Now, obviously, you have to be extremely broke to think that this is an enjoyable game in any way, shape, or form. That's kind of the whole concept of this bit. So the concept of this bit is you can't afford real games, and here's what you got to play.
Oh man! if I speak on my experiences, I will sound racist.
License plate, change camera views, type text to your opponents. And it's incredible. It's really, really good with force-feedback steering wheel.
Like a minion driving the car.
And find out where the download is.
What were we saying? Ahead of their time.
Or you can head over to liveforspeed.com.
Dreamed about going to battle in the Star
Minions
Wars
are making the car
universe.
noises.
Today has just the game for you. Star Wars: The Clone Wars. is out for
Minions will
GameCube
outlive the
and
cockroaches. You
PS2.
know that, right?
And joining us is the
Oh,
producer,
1,000%.
Greg
I'm pretty
Baruch
sure, like,
from
when
Pandemic
Elon goes to
Studios.
Mars, they're already going to be
Welcome
there.
to the show. Hey, Greg. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. He is escorted.
He is escorted.
By 2 members of.
This is how Dave Filoni goes to
I gotta get
Denny's.
myself a set of stormtroopers home without him.
Okay, we get questions from
Just 2 guys in stormtrooper with like live firearms.
What?
Live firearms. Yep.
Why don't you actually bring up the game?
Okay, I take it back. There may be one thing about Dave Filoni I like.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's an episode 2 game.
Just 2 stormtroopers with M16s.
Developed it right along with the development of the movie.
Dude, they got Disney money. They could probably make like M16s in that like workable blaster rifle.
That was the
You
most
guys know what
fascinating
I'm
to
saying.
everybody.
They just make that noise when they
It's
shoot the
that's
regular
the game,
rounds.
and I can be in
Hell
the middle
yes.
of this huge battle. That's the best, right? What we do is we're actually telling the story kind of in sequence with what's going
Somebody
in the
tell,
movie,
like, when
what
to
some
go
of
to
the
get
other
on
characters are doing. So you're actually playing as Mace Windu right now, going through Geonosis and trying to get to the arena to save.
I don't know if I'm playing as Mace Windu right now. I don't remember that time that Samuel L. Jackson drove a floating tank. I think I remember that
Did you not
time.
see the re-release?
Right, there's 6
Oh,
different
yeah.
environments. And
George
we try
Lucas
to
was like, I
cover,
need
all different
Samuel L.
kinds, really
Jackson.
Star Wars
and a floating
environments.
tank.
So This is Geonosis, which is from the movie. We also have a level.
Yeah, guys, remember the prequel movies? Remember those were a thing?
You know, everyone's seen.
Remember when Samuel L. Jackson got a special lightsaber because he said please?
The kind of levels,
this game is way better than episode 2 is. I hate episode 2.
We're trying to create levels that
I see a lot of revisionist history on episode 2 lately, and I'm not having it.
The concept of
the rat tail, dude.
But it's still
the rat tail.
You will not tell people this game is good.
Can you actually play as Yoda with his lightsaber, and also we'd be able to control the clone army at all?
Like, she just said that sentence. How is this a good movie?
Yoda, absolutely. And this is something we weren't sure how the whole Yoda thing was going to come out. And when we saw the movie, we're like, oh my gosh,
the whole theater was like,
cool was that? So we instantly were like, we've got to make sure we get this into the game somehow.
Right.
So there's a huge multiplayer component to this game, and what we've done is in multiplayer.
And there's you got the live chat on the side
through bonuses to be able to.
So this is so what you're saying is that we basically copy these guys like.
We just flipped it around.
Exact same sort of thing. So,
but no,
focuses on
go ahead, Jacob. Yeah, go.
But no, to be fair, like this was like a big part of like the show because not only would the hosts do like the daily show, they had like an online forum community too. So like the fans of the show would interact with the host and people would call in and stuff like that. Like, it was the first interaction show that G4 produced that made it really based on the fan base that they had at that time.
Because we had up until that point, you know, texting shows or whatever, where like American Idol, right? Like you would text in and it would just randomly, or it would just show everything that was sent in until like 2 episodes in, and Fox realized that was a bad idea. But this was like specifically, you knew everybody was here for that show, for that community. Yeah, like Jacob said, it was that's what we did here, or are doing here.
Of an X-wing TIE fighter and some of the grittier look of
like if you're just an indie guy and put out a game like this today, you'll be some kind of god.
Oh, you got that? I would buy it in a heartbeat. We would be talking. You and I, Snyder, would like cover it on the site and the videos for like a month.
Yeah, you know, if you put out a game just like this, not Star Wars, but just doing all the stuff you're seeing on the screen right now, and indie did all that, you'd be a god.
Apollo actually is the one.
Well,
you know,
that's a very good question, and I guess I'd have to
like
say
look at what Schedule 1 was. It's just a drug dealer simulator.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
You have a black space wizard with a glowing death stick from space in a space floating space tank.
here has a really good question.
Come on,
you got the
He
script of
says,
Black
for
Panther
someone
3
who's
already?
never seen a Star Wars movie, as such as himself, and me either, what's going to make you want to play?
Do you
this
remember
game
when that
and
hairstyle was
understand the
popular?
Yeah,
I just rolled out of a ditch hairstyle.
I do.
That was very much a product of the early 2000s for both men and women.
Yeah, I still like it on girls. It's cute on girls, but like the guys. As somebody who was in that emo pop punk scene growing up, we used to call it the jizz hair because it looked like you did something about
Mary. If you aren't familiar with Star Wars, I think you'll definitely get into it.
Let me get this straight. You've never seen any of the Star Wars movies?
No.
Stormtrooper number 2. There's an opening here.
Oh my God.
We have an opening here at this desk.
There was a time, guys, where like Star Wars was not like the cultural thing. People,
how does that happen?
Yeah, people weren't like, "Oh boy, Star Wars." Other people were like, "Oh God, another George Lucas Star Wars thing."
Is there any
Not everyone can beat Tom Connors, okay?
If you remember, George Lucas was merchandising the fuck out of Star Wars forever. If it could have a Star Wars label on it, it did. Okay?
Yep.
So this is why people react this way to that stuff, because it wasn't always Disney like come dance with Darth Vader and the Death Troopers, whatever they are. Just, you know, it used to be like, oh, I got another lollipop with Star Wars characters' heads on it again. Yay.
It was very just sort of, I don't want to say a cheap brand, but like less of a premier thing than we would imagine. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, Cider already hit it.
The shittiest brand of candy would have a crossover with Star Wars.
Yeah, so like everybody was like, "Oh, I know this." Like they'll license out to everything. It's not the coolest thing, I think is what I'm going for. So not everybody jumped on it. It really wasn't until probably, honest to God, everybody, for all your criticisms you might have on them, it was Ewan McGregor and Hayden probably brought in the normies with episode 1.
Yep. Yeah. Because again, like we could talk about that too. We'll probably do an episode about that actually.
Mm-hmm.
The Untitled Nostalgia Show, how the prequels shaped the early 2000s of sci-fi because everything was in, even Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow had flavors of the Star Wars prequels. So,
Sky Captain.
Sky Captain, you'll get caught up in the Sky Captain. Oh, sorry. We'll finish up this segment real quick.
Who had this haircut? My first ever celebrity crush and biggest one, Chloe from Smallville. Yes, the girl who got being in a sex cult.
Scenes in the movie,
I can change her. All right, that's all I'm saying.
A great way to help us kind of carry the story.
You're a good man.
Well, it's very exciting. I actually get a chance to play it this morning. It is fun, and the controls are great. Intuitive controls are really important.
Those were both way more supportive statements than I expected from either of you.
The Clone Wars, developed by Pandemic.
You remember? You remember, like, when you get away with wearing a shirt that was just that? People looked at that and they're like, "That's a
She
shirt."
can be escorted out. Yeah. I'm already at the limit.
Nowadays, you have to have like all kinds of texts and brands all over it. You can't just have like this weird strip of light across your shirt.
I just realized, so this, the host here of this show, I want to make sure I get the right one here. I think this is, what was her name? Laura Foy. What was the host of the show that I'm looking at?
That's her.
It literally just hit me here. It's like, this was basically like Frost, like 20 years before Frost. So this is what like, women like that used to look
Frost
like.
was trying to do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even then, it looked far better than whatever was going on with Frost today, which was obviously caused the infamous rant. So basically, what you're saying is that
I forgot that was even. I was like, oh yeah, Frost, and then I was like, why are we hitting it so? Oh, that's right.
So all I'm saying is that those complaints weren't there 20 years ago, and Morgan was there 20 years ago. So I don't know, just a little correlation. That's all I'm saying there.
Morgan.
But so yeah, this is a show that, like I said, they got rid of after essentially 3 years. They're just like, yep, no, we don't need shows like this anymore. Who needs shows that interact with our core fan base and actually helps?
But then it's like
audiences?
right after that, everybody like Around the Horn and all the panel shows started popping up everywhere.
Yeah,
like, they're just right.
And that's the thing, though, right? It feels like all of these shows where at the time you're watching them and it's like it's not polished enough to be a hit yet. There was at least something enough there to be like, man, if they had only just kept going with this or just polished it a little bit, changed a little bit, like you would have been right there with essentially the trends of that time period. So you're seeing that all of these shows are just in a little way, shape, or form just well above its time period. But G4 was like, nope, this is not Spike TV, so we're getting rid of this.
We need cops and cheaters. Stat.
We need a lot of cops and a lot of cheaters, and then in our last death rattle, we'll get heroes in the syndication as well because we need to fill the time.
Then we'll bring it back. Twice.
Well, there was. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. You guys are chit chatting. I'm sorry.
No, so there's
shit on NBC.
So just to go to show you just how unoriginal G4 was after the merger. Now, guys, you have to also keep this in mind too as you're watching the show and as you're watching this entire video. Comcast spent $300 million on Tech TV at this time period. So these were all the shows they essentially threw away with. And when you look at what they ended up having left, the only two big name shows that they had was obviously X-Play. We'll get to them here. I think that was kind of a burp, but that was the same thing. We had X-Play, which we'll get to a little bit later on here. And then you had a little show called Attack of the Show. Now, obviously, if you guys know who Chris Gore is, Chris Gore's friend of the show. He's associated with Attack of the Show. It was with Kevin Pereira, who we saw earlier, Olivia Munn. But a lot of people don't know that show actually started from Tech TV. It was called The Screensavers. So essentially what happened was that Tech TV was doing a show in San Francisco called The Screensavers. It was basically, like I said, Leo Savers. Did I say Savers?
Savers.
Screensavers, I should say. And it was Leo Laporte and I believe Patrick Norton was also on that show as well, if I'm not mistaken. But they were essentially
I
doing
that one two-sider. Don't worry.
but they were the guys who were doing the shows. Like I said, all the tech help stuff, everything revolving technology. Basically, before you had to call Indian people from halfway across the world, these were the people you were talking to because those were the ones that actually like knew what they were doing and whatnot. And what happened was that show got bought out by Comcast. Now, from what I heard, Leo essentially refused to move to Los Angeles and be a part of the whole merger. Looking how everything came out, he was probably the only smart person in the room when it came to that. 'Cause he saw what was coming, right? So they were like, "Well, we got the show. What we're gonna do?" It was like, "Well, we'll just rebrand the entire show into like a generalized entertainment show," and it essentially became Attack of the Show. This is how Attack of the Show first came. It came from Screen Shavers. Once the merger happened, they took the whole thing over. No, who did this? Cider.
Where are they now?
Oh man.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It fits perfectly. You'll never tell me otherwise.
They wish they could have a McDonald's job. That's all the robots.
Mm-hmm. I'm too afraid to figure out what some of these people look like in 2025. In the year of our Lord 2025, I forget what these people look like.
Yeah, they even still
The year
alive,
2025, Anno Domini.
Mm-hmm. But so one of the things here with the screensavers I find to be very interesting is that this actually launched a few people's careers. Finn, I guess the G4 Circle, obviously Morgan Webb came from this show. She had a few other projects she was working on at that time period, but these are the things she was doing before X-Play. Leo came from this show. Martin Sargent, who we'll get to a little bit later on, came here. So there was a lot of people in that core San Francisco crew that basically got their launching point from this particular show. And as far as we're told to this day, Leo said a number of years ago he tried to go to Comcast to buy the rights to the video library from the show. Because, I mean, this is his show. I mean, he's the one that came up with this idea. He did new screensavers years later. So it's like, hey, you guys basically have this in a vault. You're not showing it anywhere. It's not like it's on Peacock or anything. Like, let me buy back the rights to the show. And then Comcast basically told him to F off. So I don't know how things have progressed since then. But as far as I know, he still doesn't have the rights to the old footage show. Thanks, NBC Universal, you dicks. But here's a little scene from Sarah Lane, Patrick Norton, and a few other guys.
That's soon to be Universal Discovery.
Universe,
right?
Oh my God! Now we forgot to mention. Quick sidebar. We forgot to mention this last week too. Is that we all know the bigger reason why they split it into two? Like, oh, we're gonna put the cable networks on this side, and then the streaming on this side. They're gonna sell one of the two. They're going to sell one of the two.
Yeah.
It's going to be either with Paramount or NBC or some variation of the two. And they already know that, hey, look, if we separate these networks on the one company in and of itself, we don't have to sit in the litigation with the SEC for a number of years over monopoly law. So let's just go ahead and do a preeminent strike because we all know we're going to be selling these properties here in the next few years. So mark my words, it's going to happen sometime in the near future. So
raise your bets.
Yep.
And still to come. See what happens when Sarah visited my house to help with a little spring cleaning. It's all just a little too bizarre to miss. Stick around because the screensavers will be right back. Mm-hmm. But first, how about Jessica giving you an office tip?
What's going on, Savers? I mean,
I did not roofie Sarah Lane. I just want to make that very, very clear.
that little thing should have popped up there. Sarah Lane, not roofied. You know, like
pop a video. Hell yes.
I invited her to my house, and then 2 minutes later, she was passed out on the couch. I know how this looks, but I just want to say,
yeah, it's like the Catch a Predator guy is walking through the door. He's like, no, she fell asleep.
Yep, let the record show.
Joshua's pulling the ripcord from the get-go. Yoshi's second wind. What's going on? Come on. Okay, Windows XP offers lots of security, but so does Office XP.
Windows
In
XP.
Word, you can password protect a specific.
You mean the greatest operating system of all time?
Click tools.
Patrick is so hunky. I know a couple Patricks.
Click on that
hunky is what
security
they're
tab
not.
And then you want to type in the
talking
password
about Patrick
like
Warburton.
hunky.
Later.
Oh, there you go.
And then you're ready, steady to go, you guys.
If you remember him from the
screen
Tick, then yeah, that fits. He's a chunk of something, that's for sure.
Well, same with Seinfeld. Buddy's really bad.
Oh, that's right.
Wow, this is just
That would have been
like
great to get like Lou
Robert
Ferrigno and Patrick Warburton to reprise their roles and fight each other.
Apparently.
Yeah, but they would have just been
Exactly. It would have been great.
Throw fucking Sylvester Stallone in there and you've got yourself an Oscar.
Oh man, the remix on all those grunts. Oh, Tim Allen. Tim Allen. I came here to grunt at you. Have you heard that remix?
Holy shit, that would be the the single that somebody makes for the movie soundtrack.
I just wanted to point out, apparently somebody in chat said that the Twit Network guys, which are basically the old, Tech TV guys, are still doing podcasts to this day. So,
yes,
yeah, it's been quite a run for these group of individuals. But let's go back to Sarah Lane, who was not roofied earlier in the show.
Definitely.
It's no secret we have a huge digital digs giveaway this month. Tech TV is going to pick a lucky
Digs,
pool
guys,
to
digs.
fix their place up. Jessica's going to tell you a little bit more about it later in the show. But I've been celebrating this event by visiting the homes of our own boys here at the Screensavers that we all know and love, checking out their digs today. It's
They're what?
Patrick.
They're what?
They're digs.
Enunciate.
What a G.
It means only one thing to me.
That's why they call it cribs, dear.
He's
It's the other thing.
and I am going to check
Is
out
yeah.
his
That,
digital
oh my,
digs.
dude, you're probably right.
Is
They
what?
probably did test that.
Come in, my wife's at home.
Hey guys, remember when you couldn't afford homes in San Francisco back in the mid?
Remember housing?
Remember housing in San Francisco before all the Google people took over and kicked everyone out of their homes?
Remember hope and dreams?
Remember the American dream? Remember that was the thing?
Remember the girl would just show up and check out your dick? Oh wait, your digs?
What we're doing is when we moved in here.
I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that's what happened at least in like 1946
we
to
didn't really take
48.
our time doing it. We sort of threw it up. So you get the end result up there. The DSL filters hanging off of a nail, and we want to get rid of the really cool Ethernet hung
DSL?
over the garage door hanger.
That's not pretty.
No. All right, went to the hardware store, picked up some staples, but you know what?
Got some printer
Check
ink.
These out. These little plastic clips, a lot of people really like.
Got some
these.
chloroform.
They're great, like if you're running cabling around the baseboards of your house, and they're white.
Don't
and
mind
stuff.
that
Or you
bottle
do
of
something a
sleeping
little faster,
pills.
A little dirtier,
Having
not
a little
quite as
trouble
pretty,
sleeping
right?
lately.
Basically staple these round staples over all the cabling. But you know what? We're in the basement.
No, why do you have all these
against that wall?
Why do you have all these zip ties?
What do you need all this soundproofing for?
This is like tools and stuff.
He's like got a body in that boat that they just wheeled out there. It's just assisting him in disposing a body.
First thing we're gonna do.
This is my murder
sort out
kit.
some of the mess up there. You're gonna need this.
All right.
I stabbed him with that.
She just sees the head of the body. It's like, you're an accomplice now. You're an accomplice. If you tell the cops, you're going to jail too.
We're all good now. All right, cameraman, right?
Tidy, tidy.
You had to lift the tarp. You had to lift the tarp.
Everyone should have a wasted youth in construction.
It's kind of crazy that there is no mainstream show that does anything like this anymore, right? Like a lot of YouTubers, of course, do, but all this stuff home shows
That's
are
why.
just like home flipping.
Like the HD TV shows are all do like kind of home renovations and kind of fix them ups, but they never show the actual process. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's
they
what I
always
mean, yeah.
montage past it. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is that people aren't watching for that. They go to YouTube to watch that, where it's the
Yeah,
only
that's true.
subject of the video is a man silently working a lathe. You know?
And I guess the only people watching network TV anymore are the boomers, and they already know how to do this shit.
Or they don't care, you know?
Or they're like dying or dead.
Why does he have a Hello Kitty? Hold on. Why does that man have a Hello Kitty guitar?
Why don't you? That actually is cool as shit. Give me that.
Yeah, let's come over. I'm gonna check out my Hello Kitty guitar.
Well, this is in 2003. This is in an era where having that stuff isn't quirky and fun. It's sort of like, how'd you come into possession of this, sir?
It's like
This is,
genuine. It's like genuine otaku if you have that.
Right, exactly. It's like genuine appreciator of Japan here. I have a dusty Hello Kitty guitar.
Have a seat over at the table, sir. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, right. Like that's like.
So for now, we're just gonna clean it up, staple the ones we know are good to places where we know they are.
I mean, he does have a little bit of a Ted Bundy thing going here, so maybe that's kind of like his.
We're gonna watch Hello Kitty and then you can leave.
Yeah.
Hey man, not all fat white men are Ted Bundy. Just most of them.
We're watching Volume 3 tonight.
Jar and leave the rest of it alone.
We're gonna make it to Phase 5.
He was hiding an Asian woman in there. You no one noticed that? She's clearly trying to escape.
That was just the 90s.
Oh yeah, that's right. Chuck Norris was kicking them through walls. She was just hiding from him.
Steven Seagal, and he didn't even have to sit down to do it.
So if you're not paying attention, this guy was like, "Yeah, my garage door can sever my internet connection at any time. Fuck it, live life on the edge."
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We used to be a proper country.
That's a decent book. Are you done yet?
A couple more minutes.
My garage violates multiple coding dictionaries.
Let's put it on national television.
Yeah, right?
Every electrician watching this is screaming and punching the television right now.
I can actually turn everything off.
The like HOA is like salivating. Like we're about to get paid.
Some dude at a clipboard put a stop order on my garage. What does this mean?
It's a lot better. What do you think, Sarah?
The guy from Ghostbusters tells me I can't continue working on my garage. It's a danger to the environment now.
I think that's how the Tea Party started.
It was something about a fire hazard.
When are you gonna bring my helmet back?
I actually sold it to Yoshi for like $5.
And the motorcycle lock?
Yeah, eBay.
eBay. That's
Sorry.
The same motorcycle lock used to bludgeon a man later on, several years later.
On how to tidy up the rat's nest of cables at your house, just like Patrick did. Head to our website at thescreensavers.com. We have outtakes there too. They're really cool.
That could be really
Wait a minute.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. There were things you couldn't show? That's what happened in that
Right?
rat?
Coming up next once answered, but first,
A proper country. That's what I'm saying.
They found his collection of hentai.
I look really dark. How's that? Oh, there you can see me now. Listen, I want you to notice the color of my outfit today. What do you think?
I don't want to notice it.
Green.
Progressive olive.
Let's think movies for a second and the color progressive
The
olive.
Mask.
Watch.
Fried green tomatoes?
We know he's mean. We know he is green.
Hulk?
What we do not know is how he grows 10 times his original size and still keeps his pants on.
The Hulk!
We are talking about the Hulk. Ding, ding, give the man a prize. This weekend, the world gets to see acclaimed director Ang Lee's vision for this classic comic book character. It may or may not have all the markings of a summer blockbuster. Critics are still up in the air about it. We are going to give you a sneak peek and also take a look at the technology behind the big old green meanie tonight on Tech Live, right after the screensavers. And
It's like a
to be honest,
Entertainment
Turn
Tonight.
into the Hulk. $100, but
That's not a compliment.
By French press.
but come on, caramel macchiato. Seriously, it's not like 23, but it's at least $5, right?
No, it's $3.50.
Hulk was on screen, and now we are talking about macchiatos.
You could,
Goodness,
but it's
Sumi,
not
I
gonna be
forgot
as
about
cool.
her.
Also, this Seiko digital espresso maker, part of the digital digs.
I'm still available if you are, Sumi.
Part of the digital digs package.
By the way, I just want to point this out. They bought all these shows and then canceled them immediately.
So fucking fast.
It's like, there were some people they told in San Francisco, hey, don't even bother coming down. You're
Long time ago. Long time ago. You guys know that 2003 was 64 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. 1990 was 200. Time flies.
We got another ad. No.
In meme, like image format side, or I don't know.
Let's be clear. We did not like this. This is just what Tech TV was, and part of the things we did like were these things also were lost with them. That's
yes.
No. So we'll cut to a commercial now because that's what
put it to you this way, Puma. They paid $300 million for this.
So much money.
Action.
Hi, introducing new Crystal Pepsi.
Slight change. It's Crystal from Pepsi.
Hi, introducing new Crystal.
RFK Jr. here for Crystal Pepsi.
Right?
Hi,
Yeah.
introducing new.
Bank 98.
It's a citrus cola with a taste
It's
beyond lemon lime.
RFK and Nick.
Very slight change.
Hi, introducing new Crystal from Pepsi, the first citrus cola.
Listen to the Zoo for details on how to get great summer deals with
The
the Pepsi
Zoo.
Ultimate Card. They're
The
called the
Zoo.
Zoo Review Line at 536-93 FM.
Yeah.
93 Zoo.
93 Zoo, the beat. I don't know. Maybe that's
welcome to the morning drive time. Wee-oo.
Clearly, we're missing out on a show we should be doing.
Well, that'll probably be another episode. It's like morning radio DJ bullshit. So much stuff happened back in the 90s.
That's true. That's true. That was the peak of like radio stuff. Was the 90s, I think, because it started going downhill after like podcasts and MP3 showed up. You didn't need to listen to the radio anymore to make your like mixtape.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Y'all don't. Who knows about that? Oh my god. We used to have to very specifically land on where our song started and ended. We couldn't just hit next.
Yep. And every now and then you catch like Bob's Used Cars at the end of a song. So, you know.
Yep. But it wouldn't even be all of it. It'd be like, Bob's dun 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 dun.
Don't worry, guys. We're almost done here. So we got 2 more shows left, and then we'll wrap it up. Another victim of the G4 Tech TV merger was Martin Sargent. Now, Martin Sargent did a few skits there for the Screensavers, the show we just showed you guys a little bit while ago. He had a lot of personality. They decided to give him his own late night show on Tech TV. And it was successful for his time period. But once the merger happened, they were like, hey, why don't you come on down to LA? We'll bring your late night show over to here. You seem to, we like the cut of your jib over there. And then essentially months later, he was like, you're done. You're done. We don't need you anymore. So
you fucking uplifted your entire life and you're out here now? Yeah, bye.
Yeah, and by the way, he stated years after the fact he was not very happy about how Comcast handled the merger. Like I said, asking people to go from San Francisco to LA to start a new life and be a part of what we're building here in G4 Tech TV, only to say 6 months later, we don't need you. You can go back to the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. I hope you didn't sell your house before coming out here, because that's gonna suck.
Hope your kids didn't make any fucking friends at school.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, by the way, I know your kids are only in school for a semester, but you're gonna have to move them once again, because guess what? You're fired. Oh man, thanks Comcast. Here's a little bit of Unscrewed with Martin Sargent.
You found the G-spot. Unscrewed with Martin Sargent's next week.
You guys notice a lot of innuendos with early G4? Am I just the only person that noticed this too?
Well, they're trying to pitch to young men. They're not really interested in, appealing to young women in a lot of ways. They're obviously pitching to young men. That's why there's constantly references to, the sexual innuendos, violent innuendos, all the stuff you find in the locker room.
Mm-hmm. More innuendos with this show.
They should have just done a show called Innuendo.
Oh, hi. Happy holidays, everyone.
Font.
Martin Sargent here. You know, this season, I really want to do it right. That's why I'm planning on having an old world Christmas. And I've come up to the high country to chop down my own Christmas tree. You want to come? Cool. Come on, let's go. Old world Christmas. Old world Christmas. Old world Christmas.
It's like your local public television.
I like some trees.
Right.
Provider.
There's a show that comes on right before the Reverend that curses at you.
Help me! Anyone? Very
and
cold.
After the guy who was just showing random movie clips that he did not have the right.
I gotta build a shelter.
Right after 3 a.m. rap battles.
Old world Christmas.
Hey now, I mean that was quality.
In my studio having a Christmas party. Wanted to be in my studio at a Christmas party. So tired. Christmas party. Go, just take a little nap. Rest.
God, who does he sound like? John Candy?
I know the implication here is that his tears are frozen over. However, this could very easily be. This could very easily be. Exactly.
He got mozzarella in the face.
It's like, dude, you were only in LA 6 months. Like,
way to take it on.
Have you seen Rent? Have you seen the Rent?
I'm Martin Sargent, clearly I'm the guy. Duh, I'm pretty much the man. Get with it. Yo, what's up? That's rad, man. What's up? Never seen anything like that. Blingo. Blingo? Unscrewed.
Welcome to the Unscrewed Holiday Extravaganza with special guests Alex Chu, Tom Nardone, the 12th Girls of Christmas, the Dancing Elves, and the Sexy Snow Bunnies. And now, your hosts, Miss Laura Swisher and Martin Sargent.
Old world Christmas,
I don't think that word thinks what you think.
Yeah. Happy holidays, everybody, and welcome to Unscrewed.
Be like, I don't think that word means what you think that it means.
Just threw 3 sizes and broke out of its little wire box, and I hope you all feel as much love and warmth as I do right now. Do you? All right. In fact, I'm feeling so joyous, I'd like to present a holiday gift to all
I
you
feel
out
like
there
this
in
guy was
TV
cast
land.
because
I
he
give
looked
you
like
my merry
90% of the
co-host,
gamers.
Miss Laura Swisher, everyone.
I know like 5 guys that look almost exactly like him.
One of them being John.
I give you this is my holiday
So
family.
I mean, it just goes to show you.
Almost exactly like him.
It just goes to show you just how old we are now, because all of these people who are on these OG like tech TV shows are all basically in their 50s now.
Yeah.
Look, we have so much going on. We have dancing elves over there. Elves, hey, can you guys do a little dance? Yay! It's all so festive. Not only that, but we've got some really hot snow bunnies who are going to be bringing me drinks throughout the show. Ladies, where are my snow bunnies?
Jesus. Couldn't do this anymore.
Yeah.
They were trying to compete with the Man Show. This is like the Man Show for gamers.
Yup. Yeah. Yes. Fuck yeah. You.
Old World Christmas. Everyone right there.
Remember you could just drink on TV?
Yeah, right.
This is
Satellite.
What's
Fine.
your dream for the holiday season? My dream has already partially come true with the snow bunnies and the alcohol and everything.
Well, I think my dream would probably
This
be
does
to
not
kill a
mean
deer
what
with a
you
single
think
shot
it does.
rifle.
Snow bunnies and alcohol, count me in.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god.
fact,
Jacob,
speaking
you
of
need to make a
violence, we
bunch
should
of
stop
like
shaking that
for
snow
the.
ball.
Like imagine being a black woman and having that thrown at you by this guy, you know? Like that's just gotta be. No wonder she's fixating on the snow globe. Like, please God, let me get away from this.
See these
Yeah, she knows.
Those cute elves going about their business, doing little holiday chores and all.
Yeah.
And then you grab it and you shake it. And it's like
Remember Flash
like an
games?
earthquake or something, or like some kind of biblical tempest being visited upon them. So, no, it hurt the little.
Do it again.
He was drinking before the show started.
1,000%.
Pretty funny. See all those elves.
Gotta get my Christmas
He wasn't drinking. He was maintaining.
I don't want to hurt anyone. Anyway, we're glad that you could come inside our little world, our little unscrewed snow globe, if you will. That's what I like to call it, because we have a truly wonderful show for you tonight. It's
That's
a
how
show
you know
that's
it's
hotter than
live.
reindeer in heat. If you like me,
But then again, this also gives like some of the best television too. When you have something that's like so low budget that clearly the sponsors just don't care, it's like just go wild, buddy.
Do whatever you want.
Such as something called Liquid Virgin. That's right. Make it feel like the first time, every time.
With a face like that.
Dark Dipper Kevin Rowe is going to show off an explosive way to dress your Christmas tree or even your neighbor's tree.
If I
By
can
that, we're
get
going to
it.
bring you the 12 girls gone
Anybody
wired
can.
of Christmas. Each one hotter and more scantily clad than the next. Yeah, look at that. And believe me, people, that just scratches the surface of the icy pond. We're going to have an all-out party tonight, and when it's over, I think the holiday spirit will be alive and singing in all of our hearts. Yeah, thanks, pal. Hey,
That man just came.
Nothing puts me in the mood like a day spent sledding. Rushing headlong down the wintry slope, it literally fills me with spasms of holiday glee. But you know, today's modern sleds are a far cry from those of yesteryear.
I don't know if that's the
They're
word
proven
that
they're
you
two of the most
use
high-tech
in that
sleds on the
context.
market up to the high country for a test spin. Here's how it went.
He's like a slightly
It was the invention of
more
molded
scared
plastics that
Jay
gives
Leno.
us the ultra high-tech sleds that we ride around in today.
At least
like
Jay
the
Leno.
Saucer,
I mean,
or
I
the
don't really
Super
have anything
Space
to
Age
compare. This is
bullet
kind of
train.
worse somehow.
And now for your viewing pleasure, I'm going to show you what a hot-ass thrill
Yeah, I don't really
ride
have a
sliding
compliment to
down on
give
one of
Jay
today's
Leno. This
modern
is just
sleds can
objectively
be.
worse.
First up, the Saucer.
This is like the late night show you would watch at like 3 in the morning, where it was like, okay, what comes on after Carson Daly?
Well, it's that, but it's also like when you're taking a trip somewhere to like a different
Next up,
state,
the
and
bullet
you
train.
watch your normal
God.
late night,
Oh,
like your
God.
Carson Daly, and then this is like the local late night, and you're like, what the?
It's like, look, we need to give the boss's son something to do, so just give him the show at like the 4 a.m. hour and
I guess
just
we
let him
gotta
do
air
whatever he
this
wants.
somehow.
On Scooter,
He's
I
been
was
telling
putting a
everybody he has a
high-tech
show.
envelope. I had my intern Joey invent a sled the likes of which the world has
Invent
never
a sled.
seen. I call
Invent a
it
sled.
the diaper sled. This better work, Joey.
This really is
Go!
just the man show.
Go!
Go, go, go. Kelly amusement park.
Joey! You little sut!
Yeah, so like I said, he was one of the bigger casualties of the merger there. He was one of the suckers that actually did go out to Los Angeles to live his dream of continuing his show, only for him to get absolutely smashed. It's a matter of
also just goes to show, guys, like dignity is worth more than million. Well, I don't know. I don't have millions, and I barely have dignity.
Exactly, and I don't have dignity either.
But Spencer, you're absolutely right, because had they held their breath for 5 years, they would have been able to go with the Game Grumps model and just YouTube themselves playing a video game like John and Aaron started out doing. It would have been fine. These guys, they wanted the Hollywood experience. They wanted to be gaming's Jay Leno, the gaming's Letterman. You know, they wanted to have that authority of being real TV.
We wanted to be Letterman, but cool.
Remember, like that's what happens when anything gets like super popular here in America, right? Like Hollywood goes fucking nuts and goes, we got to get all in on that. But instead of like enjoying it for what it is, they try to make it Hollywood. Like everything we saw here, the example I'm kind of like thinking of in my head, because I've been looking for things for a project, but in the early 90s, the Magic the Gathering, like the Wizards of the Coast game, their small tournament circuit, MTV like licensed it. And so they were like having matches on TV, but instead of like showing them at like a card store or at the like wherever they're playing, they were like on the beach, and the guys had puka shell necklaces, and all the guys watching had backwards hats. And it's just, yeah, no, Cider, you're exactly right. Like nobody really wanted that. I don't know why everybody always goes to that.
Crazy. But we have one last show here, and this is the show that obviously everyone remembers about the G4 Tech TV era, and it is X-Play. And it was a show so popular for G4 at its time, they didn't even actually create it. So this is a show that actually started in 1998 called Extended Play, when back where Tech TV was called ZD TV. Then when it changed over to Tech TV, it was actually rebranded X-Play. So this is a show that Comcast bought with its $300 million. When you look at it in the grand scheme of things, what they actually purchased, you can look at it from the perspective of they literally spent $300 million to purchase the rights to X-Play, because that's all they got out of it when it was all said and done. So you guys about to admit this little sketch here of arguably the most expensive television show ever acquired. So here we go.
Please welcome the Alpha and the Omega, Sessler and Webb.
Welcome back to X-Play, where no matter how you shoot me, we have bad camera angles.
Yes, we've
Real quick before we get into this. I know for some of you younger people, this may be foreign to you, but yes, there was a time period where people saw Adam Sessler's face and did not immediately want to punch their screens. There was a time period where he was actually likable, and it just feels like
proper country.
It's like, what happened between, like, something happened, and like when he was first fired from the network, because I mean, if you heard the story by now, it's been told a bunch of times, but essentially the rumor is Sessler was having some substance abuse issues behind closed doors. It basically got to a point where G4, at a time period where it was already dead to begin with, it was like, yeah, we don't need to keep paying your salary at this point. You can leave. And it seemingly feels like it's been all downhill since then. And then it would find it weird that for some reason, when they thought to reboot the thing about a decade later, he was really the only name, with the exception of Kevin Pereira, but he was really the only name. It's like, yeah, let's bring this guy back. And it was like, really? Not Morgan? You don't want to bring Morgan back, but you want to bring Adam back, who basically has like half of people blocked on Twitter at this point? Like,
they couldn't afford Olivia, and I don't know why they didn't. Why didn't they just go for Kevin? There was a whole thing. I remember there was a whole thing.
Yeah, it was a thing that happened, but yeah, there was. This is a happy Adam or enjoyable Adam, and maybe not severely depressed Adam.
Games with horrible camera angles where you can't tell where you're going or who's shooting you.
Doomsday, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, Batman Dark Tomorrow. Whoa, that's a good one. You know why it's a Dark Tomorrow in that game? Because you can't see where the hell you're going in it.
Right, and there's also Stake, of course, but then everything about that game is bad.
Looking back on it now in a new light.
Still, Resident Evil is the most consistent bad camera offender.
It is, and recently when I was going to work, something happened. Something strange. I entered a fifth dimension. Beyond that which is known to man, this dimension is vast as space. as timeless as infinity. It's an area which we call the bad camera zone.
Submitted for your approval, Adam Sessler, host of Tech TV's X-Play, arrives at work to find the entire
This only
office
works
is
if you
now
know what Twilight
Blair,
Zone is.
I think we need to be changing the...
If you don't know what the Twilight Zone is, it's completely stupid.
I remember when video games were
Frustrated with his
pre-rendered. Remember
inability
that?
to interact with the environment, Adam forgets the first rule of bad camera work. All threats are off screen. Little does Adam know that when the camera changes, all bets are off. Not being a key item, the fudge is pre-rendered and unobtainable. This, then, is the last straw for Mr. Sessler.
The sad thing is that Adam also walks like that when he's drinking.
That was
but
that was
when
the
I'm
thing that
drunk,
happened, apparently.
The fudge is for real, and I can eat it and get all over my face and look dumb.
Yeah,
What goes well with my walking.
right. I'm sure it's beautiful.
And then there's one more clip here that I want to show you with X-Play, because obviously X-Play lasted very long through the merger. Like, it was really the only one that held up from pillar to post, I guess you can put it that way. But at the same time, I think that this is an initiative from the host, if I'm being honest with you. The reason why X-Play was popular in the earlier part of the 2000s was because they were doing kind of goofy, fun video game reviews that were informative but entertaining. But they wanted the show to be more of a video game magazine show, which is not as many funny and quirky video game reviews, but trying to be serious journalists in the realm of video games.
Lots of ads.
Yes. The problem is that if you grew up or if you started watching the show during the quirky video game era and then all of a sudden progressed into the later stages of G4 before it died, and it's a video magazine show or video game magazine show, you're really not going to be that interested in X-Play moving forward. Then also, of course, you can also blame the internet, because it wasn't like they were the only ones who were covering video games at that point too. So there was a couple of things both creatively and culturally working against them. But this is a little clip. So if you guys want old school X-Play at its finest, this is basically where you would get it right here. An old review of a game that I had completely forgotten about until I saw this video. And it just goes to show you just how rotten this game is. And it's a real one that actually exists.
Off my bags. You know what? It is a good look for you. You know, if I ran into you at a monster truck rally, I would totally give you the address of my trailer home. Yeah. Okay,
Meanwhile, in 2025.
Real quick before we go, do we need to banish Spencer's to the Shallow Realm before we get out of here?
Yes, I must go back to the 90s to mine for more stuff. No, I just got to get out of here, guys. Awesome seeing everybody in the chat. You two close it out. This was ridiculous. This was G4, and you guys can kind of see where this laid the groundwork for a lot of like Channel Awesome, Cider said Game Grumps, and kind of us right here. So yeah, let these two beautiful gentlemen take you away, and I will see you all Monday. And yeah, talk to you soon.
Adios.
Later.
All right then. Well, let's finish up this last clip here of. Like I said, a video game, I can't even remember what it's called, The Fugitive Hunter. This is as every bit as terrible and offensive and hilarious as you probably think it's going to be.
Golden Mullet goes to a game that fails on every
Oh, it's a Dog the Bounty Hunter game. Okay.
The Golden Mullet Award for the game that just makes you feel dirty.
So, just a quick little reference here. If you're wondering why they call it the Golden Mullet Awards, it's because they were naming it after there was a video game in the early 2000s, I should say, called Aquaman. And it was basically like Superman 64 on steroids. And it was so bad, it basically got named after, okay, we're giving the worst games of the year to this award. So thanks, Aquaman, for your contributions.
Goes to Fugitive Hunter.
There are many ways the game can go wrong, and Fugitive Hunter manages to find just about all of them. This is one game that will not make you proud to be an American, or a video game fan, or alive for that matter.
Okay. Wow.
You play as a special operative in the CIFR.
The Criminal Interdiction and Fugitive Recovery Task Force.
Yeah, that. Your job is to hunt down a bunch of fictional fugitives until you ultimately square off with public enemy #1, Osama bin Laden.
Oh, he's just there.
I wish I could run away.
He's an actual playable character in the game.
Aside from hunting down dirtbags like bin Laden, Fugitive Hunter plays like every other first-person shooter. You have weapons.
Your mother.
Oh, plenty of weapons. I'm sorry, what was that?
So it's Doom, but the Iraq-Afghanistan war. Okay.
It's Doom, but with bin Laden.
Yeah, there we go.
And you've got enemies. Tons of enemies.
Who are all suspiciously from a certain region of the world and practice a certain suspiciously similar religion.
You gotta remember, post 9/11, we didn't give a shit about Islamophobia back then. It was like, kill all the Hajis that you want. No one cares. That's 2004 for you, baby.
Terrorists are supposed to be dumb, but this is ridiculous. No, of course I can't see you hiding against that dark wall in your white clothes. And hey, what's going on over here? So that's how they train terrorists. As if they don't act stupid enough while alive, enemies constantly respawn behind you. When was the last time you saw someone climb down a ladder head first? Exactly. Though you're free to gun down wave after wave of nondescript terrorists, the dastardly fugitives...
Oh, they seem pretty descript. They seem pretty descript.
Them by beating them down in a ridiculous fighting minigame.
Oh.
Virtual Fighter 4.
Why didn't this become like a bajillion-dollar franchise?
You may not be able to shoot the fugitives.
Tekken with Osama bin Laden.
Are, however, encouraged. Are we done yet? Oh no. Then there's the writing. Pull up a chair and have yourself a listen to these Pulitzer Prize-worthy quips.
Too slow. Oh yeah. You like that?
No, not really. So, what have we got here? The gameplay's dull, the fighting minigames are hilarious, and the enemies are morons. That's it. Keep coming, boys. But that's nothing compared to how little tact was used in making this game. It constantly preys on fear and hatred, yet the final showdown with bin Laden plays out like it's a joke.
If you kill me, 1,000 more will rise.
All right, then we'll keep you alive. The bounty on Fugitive Hunter is minimal for a 5-4. 3, 2, 1 out of 5.
Gordon kicking your ass.
Wow. Oh, that was funny. She said, fine, we'll keep you alive. And then we didn't do that at all. He was watching anime, and we just blasted his head off and dropped it to the bottom of the ocean. Fuck you, bozo.
No, we just killed bin Laden several years later and then told everyone we buried him at sea instead of recovering his body. And then just no one talked about it anymore after that.
And that was the end of that guy.
Anyone who did, car just exploded randomly for reasons. Who knows?
And then a helicopter full of the people who witnessed the actual act happening just dropped out of the sky one day, killing the majority of them in a tragic accident.
It seems like everyone who was involved is no longer alive. It's weird how that happened, right?
I feel like it happened exactly like that video game. And there was like a rooftop kung fu battle, and they just couldn't show it to us because it would be too cool. You know, it'd be too cool, and they can't do that. It was Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
He literally parachuted in and beat Osama bin Laden to death with his own bare hands. That's why his ring got broken. Remember?
He literally went down and with a quick time event. That's how they defeated bin Laden.
That's how they defeated bin Laden. Yep.
Last ad for tonight. This is our last sponsor. Like that was a good commercial back in the day where Twix actually tasted good and they cost like 50 cents. Nowadays, not so much.
Oh, well, it's good news. RFK Jr. is going to be eliminating all of that for us, so that's pretty fun.
It's going to send it all to the Shadow Realm where it belongs.
Finally. If we're lucky anyway, we'll send it to the Shadow Realm and not, like, legalize it all over again when we're not paying attention.
Just legalizes it and then immediately steps down and runs away like a Batman villain.
A lot of that going around lately.
Yep. But yeah, that's the end of the show. So kind of to wrap things up and summarize it like this, and I can get your thoughts on it too, is that to me, when you look back at a time period where, like I said, they were trying to create literally anything, they were throwing things at the wall at this point. That's why I call it the outlaw days of cable, is because they realized they had so many channels, but they didn't know what to fill it. So at this point, creativity, whether it was good or bad creativity, was kind of at an all-time high, because it's like, hey, look, we need something. So if you got an idea, even if it's not a good one, run with it and see what we go here. And like I said, a lot of these ideas were good. Maybe they were a little bit ahead of their time. They didn't have essentially the technology behind it or like the audience behind it to make it a hit at the time period it came out. But all these concepts we see today in our everyday lives, especially in the internet age and the gaming age. So when you look at a merger that quite literally cost them 9 figures, you think that this would have ended up so much better than it did with all the shows. Like I said, most people don't even know that these shows were associated with G4 at some point in time, because when most people think of
9
G4,
figures.
9. Yeah, so it was
million.
more.
Right.
Yeah.
My brain was like, it went up to like the multiple billion, tens of billions. I was like, wait a minute, wait.
You just hear somebody in the back room as you're talking going, "We paid how much?"
That's a gross domestic product of Yugoslavia.
But no, like when you look back at this time period, with everything they put into it, most people don't even know these shows exist. People only associate, like I said, Attack of the Show and X-Play as the only shows associated with G4. And it's like G4 and Tech TV offered so much more at that time period, but it was Comcast's own fault by coming in and saying, nope, we're killing all of this. And like I said, we're going to go all in on cheaters and Ninja Warrior and cops. And by the time we got to the end point of the 2000s, not only did they get rid of this highly respectable McDonald's cashier, but they also basically just said, yeah, no, we're done here. And this obviously led us to the brutal indictment of G4, where basically I think it was Dish Network or DirecTV, one of the two, said that we're going to get rid of G4 because we don't see any value in the network. So adios, goodbye, and good night. And that's exactly what happened with G4. So what is your thoughts here on just kind of everything that we went showcased here tonight with the G4 network?
I only caught blips and pieces of the network when it was actually like real and out there in the world. So this was pretty illuminating to figure out that like there was an ecosystem beyond the anime stuff and Ninja Warrior, and it is a bit saddening to think that these people did put their best foot forward to try and create something unique out there, and of course the time period wasn't very forgiving to that. So it's a good thing though that this didn't survive, because it seems like these people had the wrong idea about what they were trying to accomplish. The bigger network controllers had the wrong idea about what they were trying to accomplish, and it sounds like these people didn't end up McDonald's managers, but rather went on to become more woven into gaming culture as it evolved into a more mainstream piece of culture. Oops.
Yeah.
Do the clickety-click thing.
And unfortunately, this piece of video is still there on the internet to this day, and this is what the legacy. Keep in mind, this video was shot. This video right here was recorded 5 years after Comcast spent $300 million to purchase the rights to Tech TV and to bring it all here. And this is how it all ended 5 years later.
Let me turn it up.
This is honestly as high as up as it goes. So, yeah, you got to listen in for a second. But this is as high as up as it goes. But like I said, the video is still available. So there's that.
Distribution partners at DirecTV that they are planning on dropping G4 from their channel lineup as early as this decision, especially since G4 has only been asking DirecTV for the same basic deal we've had with them for the past 3 years. However, DirecTV has rejected this, claiming they don't see the value of G4 to make your voice heard and to keep G4.
Do you know how brutal that has to be for a provider? Basically said, yeah, we're not even giving you the same deal that we've had for the last several years. We no longer see the value of your existence. That's essentially what they said. And it happened. They got dropped, and that was effectively the death knell of G4 as a network.
In a world where the Weather Channel and HGTV continue to this day, the Home Shopping Network continues to this day, Sci-Fi, Sci-Fi continues to this day.
The USA Network still around.
It's USA Network, not G4 though. That's amazing. So you have to really step back and be like, there were 10 people watching this. That's really the only thing you could come to. Because like if it's lower than tornado compilations on the Weather Channel, it's bad. It's real bad.
Basically, I mean, that has to show you that at a time of kind of premium cable, that digital satellite cable era, it got to a point where essentially they were like, look, customers don't even want this on their premium like network anymore. They're going out of their way to avoid this. So you're bringing no value to us as a network. So yeah, we're going to have to dump you. And I think it was Snape here that asked the question, did G4 become... So the plan was towards the early 2010 is that they were going to rebrand G4 into either the Esquire network or I think it was the Esquire network at the time. They wanted to rebrand it, and they were planning on doing that. And then like right before the rebrand was supposed to happen, they decided, yeah, you know what, we actually don't want to rebrand this network. We just kind of want to let it die. So there was a good 2-year period where G4 was quite literally a dead network. They only showed recent-ish reruns of all their programming for about 2 solid years. So you go there, watch G4 in 2013, if you still had it available, all you were watching was essentially 2009 episodes of X-Play, and that was it. Like, you were getting no new content, and then they finally pulled the plug on the entire network at the end of 2014.
Yep.
So
that's it. That's how it went.
That's a 9-figure investment, baby. Might as well just put it all in Enron stock because they didn't end very much better with G4. And yeah, that's the end of tonight's show here. So yeah, there's the history. There's your second look here at our Untitled Nostalgia show here. So we got more stuff. I mean, look, there's so many things we can bring back from our past. We're gonna keep the show going for a while. So any last thoughts for you, Cider, before we wrap this up?
No, I'm still just kind of amazed that there was more to this than the initial surface area stuff. So there's a lot to take in still. So
yep. Well, with that said, I guess we could go ahead and let you guys know this. Some of you guys have finally caught on to the fact that our 01 show is on Monday nights now, not Wednesday night. So yeah, check us out Mondays at 6:30 Eastern time. That's the right time.
Yep.
To hear our discussions about basically the world of entertainment as things are going on right now. I know there's a lot of merger talks, a lot of panic behind the scenes as far as, these networks and stuff like that going. So it's good to know that, 20 years later that, a lot of these major corporations have figured things out, right? Now they're starting to make money, and they're not just recycling debt that's been around for like 30 years and just hot potatoing off to the next person. Yeah, no one would ever do anything like that. That'd be crazy, right? That'd be stupid.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on Monday. But you guys have a good weekend here. And you know what? Make sure you just stay out of trouble, all right? So 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, Monday, 01. Catch you there. We shall return to space. The sky is not the limit. It is our destiny. For as the stars hang in the cosmos for eternity, so too shall our names and our legacies. I ask you to believe that mankind's finest hour is not behind us, but instead far beyond our wildest dreams. I ask you today to light your hearts ablaze, become the beacon that lights our path to the future that's waiting on all of us.
0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 0-1.